I'd like to show you something.
The pace when I'm running, I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything. And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm
You got to ask yourself one question. Do I feel like it?
How are you all doing tonight? Thank you for being here. Apologies for the lateness. Toxic Tuesdays here, episode 129. And it's Deliverance, part 3 of Burt Reynolds month. So it's good. It's good to be here. Nice to see all the faces here. Now, YouTube is being bipolar, saying there's only 11 people, yet I see all these comments. Now it's saying there's 7. So I was like, okay, YouTube, you're bipolar. Anyways, thank you all for being here early and right away. I do greatly appreciate it. Let's acknowledge some faces here. Okay. Hello, Putin's Cat. Hello, Dash Attack. Oh, Putin's Cat, you became a huge member on Friday nights, sir. Cosmic Vader, Benoit, JDC, hello, Yaknomino, Josh Pose, FKHC 2005, Matthew Marzillo, Penny, Darth Viewer, and Sander Hamerslag, hello, Bright Barth, hey, how's it going, Bright Barth, Soul Assassin, hello, Dave C, Davina Duckworth, Shadow Chaser, hello, nice to see you all here. Yeah, it's saying there's 4 of you here. This thing is crazy. Anyways, I appreciate you all being here. Let's get the show rolling, folks, and let's bring in these dudes one by one. We'll start off with that 70s rock fan. How's it going, 70s?
Good evening. I've just come back from a wonderful week in Vegas. I'm exhausted, broke, and there's a strange rash that I can't seem to get rid of. But you know, otherwise I'm pretty damn good.
Rash. Oh, that's funny, man.
I'm looking forward to this. Obviously, Deliverance, directed by John Boorman, who directed Excalibur, another movie about people wielding their swords.
Anyway,
how are you, mate?
I'm doing good, man. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to talk about not just a Burt Reynolds movie, and not only is it oddly the 3rd one straight in a row where even though he's very iconically known for his mustache, it's the 3rd straight movie we're talking about that doesn't involve a mustache. Is that funny how that worked out? I swear that was not meant to be a thing, but
it's weird, eh?
It did happen. How the pattern aligned like that.
Very strange.
Yeah. Good to have you here, sir. How's Vegas?
Oh, it was awesome. Had a great time. Met loads of people. I got thoroughly gouged by the prices. My God.
Oh, I'm sure you got destroyed by them.
It was always bad, but right now it's ridiculous. But anyway, leaving that aside, it was a lot of fun. It was nice to get some sunshine when I arrived back in Calgary at the airport at 1:30 a.m. this morning. There was a blizzard blowing. I had to drive home through a blizzard, so that was nice after the sunshine.
Yeah, jeez. Sounds like Canada, man. Sounds like
Jesus,
Canada.
I know. Anyway, great fun. We missed you, buddy. We missed you.
Well,
soon.
Yeah.
Soon.
Well, obviously, besides Dallas in a few months, it's most likely, and not to, hoping 2025 for Vegas, but for sure Dallas in a few months. But yeah, as far as Vegas, if I do it next year, should I go? It'll probably be the last time I can do it for another 2 or 3 years. Should I do it?
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd definitely, necessarily want to go to the Vegas ones all the time.
It's fun. I love it.
It's
and also
fun,
Eric
but
K.
quite
Eric K's in
expensive.
Vegas. So I'm basically like Eric K is one of the reasons why I
I
go
was
to
hanging out with Eric.
as you should.
Me, Eric, and
Eric and
Brahma
I
had,
hung out at the pool.
Eric and Brahma had dinner the last night we were there and all that stuff. So it was nice. Yeah, it was good to have hanging out with the mod of mods, Mod Supreme.
Yeah, right. Eric's a fun guy to hang with. Really, he's just an absolute joy to hang with, and I haven't seen him in person in almost 3 years now. I do miss the guy, and he's one of the main reasons alone I would go to Vegas, because he's that good of a dude.
Cool.
So,
well, maybe I will go next year again then, if I can find the catch from somewhere.
Other than that, for sure, Dallas is going to be like,
Dallas.
There'll be a spot for me in the next few years. That's going to probably be my one consistent go-to.
Yeah, so, Dallas.
The timing is the best for me. Also, it's a little bit more affordable as well.
Well, Dallas is my town. It's my town.
Josiah, it's now YouTube is being very weird tonight. It's saying there's only 3 people watching this show, and I see all these comments. No, that's not true, but it's okay, guys. Who cares about it? At the end of the day, we're having fun. Just keep on liking whenever you can. It's okay. YouTube's
mentioning Dallas. I'd just like to say congratulations to the Dallas Stars for winning the Central Division. Go Stars. Anyway, sorry, I had to say it.
It's okay, man. It's okay. All right.
Moving on.
Yes, we're moving forward, and we're gonna bring it. So, guys, obviously Dustin's got adult stuff. I think Geary's guys come like book he's still working on, so he's got adult stuff too. But Tom will be here soon. But we do have Mark D with a C and Justin a red shirt, and we're gonna start off with the red shirt himself.
Hey there.
Hi.
One of my favorite movies, and certainly my favorite movie with Burt Reynolds in it.
Mm-hmm.
As a movie, this is a fantastic movie, and I pasted something into the the private chat because I always like slagging on Roger Ebert. Roger Ebert did not like this movie. The funny thing was,
we'll talk about that.
Yeah, his partner there on Tonight at the Movies did like it though. Yeah, that truncated it. Let me see, how much did we get? Let me put that in the private into the group chat for you. Because I hit a limit on the private chat. Yeah. Anyway, I'll get to that in a minute.
No, it's good. You add your notes to the private chat. Oh, that's a good spot to put notes. I've done that sometimes if I want to add some stuff that I don't think I might remember. Because usually I'm good at like remembering a lot of information, but if there's things I'm not confident, I'll just add into private chat that way. It's a way of just doing your own notebook, but on the private chat.
Unfortunately, there's a character limit, and what I pasted in exceeded it. Mm-hmm. So I've got to put it into our group Twitter chat. Just to have it there. I also have it. I got to find it again. I can put it. I'm making a notepad file. I've got that open. Because there is a ton of trivia about this movie on IMDb, and some of this stuff's fascinating.
Good.
This was a hellacious production for
I heard.
Yeah, not because they hated each other, although there was a little of that, but because the studio got cold feet, and a whole lot of decisions had to be made that today most actors would not put up with. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. So we'll get into that stuff. But yeah, this is and my other problem I want to explain right up front as we talk about this movie as toxic. This movie is toxic as hell, but not by today's standards, where looking down on Southern rednecks is not considered to be arrogant and toxic. It's required.
It's mandatory.
And this movie's part of the reason for that.
We definitely got a lot I want to add to that too. I hear you on that. Trust me. There's some thoughts I got on that.
Interestingly enough, just talking about that, is it actually set in the South? I mean, it's the Appalachian rural Appalachian areas. But they extend quite far north. So I was never sure exactly where it was meant to be.
Well, they're from Atlanta and they drove up. So it's likely northwest Georgia, which is where it was actually filmed.
So it is the south. It's the southern Appalachians. Yeah, Appalachians.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
All right, we got a Mark D in the back, and we also got some super chats to acknowledge. So I'm just gonna speed these off. Pinochet's helicopter tours for $5 says Beatty had the hardest part, taking method acting just a bit too far because this ain't exactly Shakespeare in the part. Ned Beatty had the hardest part. And then for $2 says, read my super chat. Tom pays the hardest part chorus. I don't know the song, but I know exactly what part you're talking about in the movie. And
waiting.
Ned, he had it. We could say he had it a bit hard in this movie. That would be a bit on the nose, but he did have it hard. So I have nothing else I can add to that. But
his knees got sore, that's for sure.
Anyways, we got a Mark D with a C in here.
Hello. Great to see everyone. Yep. I hope we deliver a good show for you guys tonight. And
we will.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, and even though we have 0 people watching right now.
I know, right?
There's just one watching.
Yeah, but I'm actually streaming at the same time right now. I got a 3D print streaming, and that's got 1 viewer at least. So I think that's just me though. But I am streaming.
It's
printing Slimer from Ghostbusters.
YouTube's being redonkulous.
Yeah, but just we don't care. We have fun. That's what I said a few weeks ago. I think even if there was no one here, it was just you guys on the pan. Just having a hangout and hanging out with you guys. I would be, it'd be fun to do without anyone watching, but even more fun with a chat, obviously. But great time hanging out with you guys. But this is we'll get into the movie, but it gets made fun of all the time. It's a freaking horrific scene what happens in that. I mean,
it's a hard movie.
I mean, it's pretty bad. I mean, I remember my mother-in-law, she would say too, she's like, "Oh, this is one of my favorite movies." I'm like, then years later I asked her, like, "What did you see it on the TV version or in the movie theater?" Because that scene is just freaking brutal. I mean, but you make fun of it and the banjos and once you get south of DC, for us Northerners up here, the radio changes, everything changes, and unfortunately, a lot of Southern people get picked on. The accent gets picked on, by a lot of stupid Yankees. I'll say that. But one experience, I remember we were going to a bachelor party somewhere in the mountains in Virginia that where friends lived, and we're driving at like 1 a.m. This is before you had GPS. I, being a geek, had a laptop that I hooked up a GPS to. It was like one of the first ones that you could actually use. Another story, but it took me all through the mountains, and you get to this place at like 3 a.m. Of course, the whole time my other buddy in the car, he keeps he keeps humming dueling banjos. He's like, "Shit, I hope we go to the right house, because if we knock on the wrong door at 2 a.m, we can end up getting shot or worse up here." So we finally did, and then we got to the right house, and this huge German Shepherd runs out, and that was the front, that was like the next door neighbor's dog or something. I've never been more scared in my life, and the whole time I'm thinking Deliverance. I mean,
if you do get invited into one of those shacks, never accept a drink. That's what happened in Red Dead Redemption 2.
It did turn out to be a fun bachelor party, but it was it was crazy.
Well, it looks like it's going. I just checked really quick. It looks like it's going on for everyone right now. There's something going on YouTube right now. I'm going through my live feed, and what's it called? It seems like a lot of people's things are showing that there's 1 or 2. Even there's a channel, it's like 7 or 8K subs called Knights of Melvin. They usually stream at the same time we do. And they usually bring 60, 70 people around the shows, which is pretty much in line with Toxic Tuesday. Maybe we're like a slight step under on average. And it shows they're at like 8. And I'm like, that's not right. That's not right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if Knights of Melvin's getting that low of a number, then I know something is clearly up at YouTube. So anyways,
we'll have fun. Doesn't matter.
We're gonna have fun.
It doesn't matter how many people are here, as long as you guys are here.
We got each other. It's pretty gay, but we do have each other. So, anyways,
let me get the slideshow going, I guess. Yeah.
let's get on with delivering.
Let's get on with the
because,
show. Yep.
Yeah, this is a
And I
big
found a
thing, man.
special. Found some special subtitles for this edition. So if you pay attention,
Good. Yeah.
you'll see one of the words we can't have on YouTube got changed. I know it's a special edition. Yeah, but here let's get the slideshow rolling. Let's get on going down the river.
Yeah.
Anyone here been whitewater rafting at all, or?
I have
I've been-
wanted to, and I've never have.
Yeah.
For me seeing this, I was like, kind of like, I guess you could say, confused, because I'm like, oh, is this could be an adventure movie or adventure comedy? And then when you had that, I think it was it a banjo? The instrument,
Yes.
Yep.
that banjo scene.
Banjo and a guitar.
Something started feeling really awkward and I guess you could say unsettling about it. I'm like,
Yeah.
hold up. There's more to this movie here.
Yeah,
And
this is
whoa.
Okay, pronounce that name.
Yeah.
Whoa. John Boorman.
No, pronounce the name of the river or somebody.
Oh, I thought because you're talking about how you like to say
John
Boor-
Boorman.
It's-
No, that's okay.
Oh, the
It's-
river. Yeah,
It's the river is the Chattooga River.
Tallahassee. I thought it was a Tallahassee River.
It's
Is
it's
that how
got
you
more
pronounce it?
syllables than that.
Yeah, but I'm not
It
that
was in-
smart. I'm missing
Tallahassee,
some
it was-
teeth.
Okay, hello,
Yeah,
Tallahassee.
yeah. It was inspired by an actual river that had some dangerous rapids, and in the 70s was dammed and flooded out. But they changed the name for the movie. It was actually filmed on the Chattooga River in Georgia.
Kaluawasi? Kahulawasi.
Kahulawasi.
Yes.
Kahulawasi. Is that right?
Yes.
Kahulawasi?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I can do things. I'm not totally stupid. Okay.
I'm screwed
good.
if I know.
Yeah. So no, can you imagine if like
Yeah.
somewhere out there someone walked into this movie and they probably had no idea it was gonna be this dark of a movie? How do you think someone came out
Well,
on the other
I-
side
Hard.
of it?
I remember seeing it on television, British television, of course, in the late 70s. I thought that took an unexpected turn.
And where was
Yeah.
well, now was it the turn with the hillbillies or the turn with the unsettling?
Well, that, as
banjos?
you say, was unsettling, but later on I thought, oh, they really did that. Okay.
Wow, this got deep.
This got very deep and very hard and very deep.
Yeah.
And I think, of course, John Boorman, I think this was his first big movie. And then, of course, he really outdid himself with Zardos after this. So great director.
Yeah.
Stardust,
This is-
cool movie.
This
yeah.
has a very top to bottom cast. I mean, would you have not just Reynolds, but you have John Voight as mentioned. We also have Ned Beatty, who was obviously when me, Mark, and Redshirt did last
the
week's
bottom.
White Lightning. Yeah,
Mm.
in this movie,
Well,
he's
He went
definitely
top
not
to bottom,
as
so
dominant.
he's the bottom.
He's not as dominant in this movie.
No, but he's just as much of an asshole in this movie. And strangely, I didn't realize this, but for Ned Beatty and Ronnie Cox, this was their first movie. They were both
Yeah,
theater actors,
Mhm.
and that was
Yeah,
part of the
that's
cost
right.
saving.
Yeah.
And all the big names that either turned it down or wanted too much money, which is where we got Burt Reynolds and John Voight, because they were willing to
Yeah.
do it within the budget.
And that's why Ned Beatty was on the movie we did last week, the Gator movie,
Mhm.
Yes.
because he asked the Beatty on, and this is a great intro too. There's a lot of classism, or it's like, oh, you got to destroy our town so you can get more air conditioners in your little suburb. They're
Christ,
doing
yeah.
this for
Well, this
Uh,
is
lo-
doing.
You can't live in Atlanta without air conditioners. Come
you
on.
can't.
You
But
can't.
but this is
They need more power,
the
yeah.
argument. This is the argument between the conservationist played by Burt Reynolds' character, okay, where he wants to preserve the river. He wants to conserve. This is a wild river. Let's keep it. And the others are arguing, hey, the dam is going to bring jobs, and you can put houseboats on the lake, and it'll produce a lot of electricity, which is it's going to be clean electricity. So that's the environmentalist position.
Mhm.
this is early in the environmentalist movement, the
Oh
1972.
yeah, we're talking very
So-
almost infantile stages. At
Because the
this point.
EPA is 73. Yeah, but I would just make a joke about. See, there's my special subtitles I found. So
Sorry, yeah, somebody rightly
Damn it, and
pointed
take
out.
the clean electricity.
Sander rightly pointed out. Boorman had done a bunch of movies. Yeah, Hell in the Pacific, Point Blank. That's the other one. Forgot about those. Yeah. So it wasn't the first. Yeah, it wasn't his first big movie as a director. Yeah. Well,
I don't know. They're saying they're going to grape the land there, so
they're going to grape it.
And I think that's foreshadowing. He's going to grape the river. They're going to grape the
No,
land.
well, I think there was a little bit of foreshadowing, but it also show you how I don't want to say Lewis was cocky, but he was definitely in a position because you get that he was so excited and over the moon about the trip. He had a very large amount of confidence about just going out there and owning this thing and being the life of the party of this trip. And it was supposed to be a weekend for the guys, a getaway.
yeah,
Yes.
And it, obviously
But
he was a little bit more naive than he thought himself to be.
Yeah, he's more bum brains is the way I came up. That's what I came up with.
Okay.
He says, I've never had insurance in my life. I don't believe in insurance. There's no risk. That's the attitude of just somebody who doesn't believe that life can knock him flat on his ass. I bet he regrets those words by the end of this movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is there any hillbillies up here? Oh God. Talk about out of touch. These Atlantic
what are we
guys.
watching, guys?
Yeah.
Hey,
Tom's
Tom.
here.
We're watching your favorite movie, Tom.
Oh,
Part of it, anyway. So
Yeah. And by the way, you asked about paddling experience, Nick. I have done canoeing, whitewater canoeing, rafting, and kayaking.
oh wow.
And I'll tell you, this river, that scene where they one boat breaks and one of them drowns and Lewis breaks his leg. That canyon is a nightmarish place to be in a boat unless you have a very experienced party. And these guys aren't.
Yeah,
Well,
they
I
don't know
can
what they're
only-
doing, except
Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, yeah, they don't know what they're doing. I mean, I've done some with the scouts, done some whitewater rafting and canoeing, and the canoes are really tough to handle too. These new big rafts you see everyone on, and you usually have a guide with you on that big raft. I mean, you get bounced around like crazy, but it's a lot easier. But a
Look,
canoe,
we
I
don't-
mean, it's
we don't belong on the water. That's my view.
well, I have a lot of natural buoyancy, fortunately, but yeah, if you end up in one of these, what they tell you to do too is you go overboard. Don't put your feet down. Try to float on your back. Keep your legs. You obviously should be a good swimmer, but they said don't ever try to stand up because you get your leg either
Sucked
hooked in a
in,
rock
yeah.
and
Yep.
broken or sucked
Yes.
down. So you want to almost like just float and pray. If
You want to
go
float.
over.
Yeah, you want to float and try and swim into an eddy, and you don't stand
Yeah.
up until if the water's much above your ankles.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah,
I have
you get
done
swept
wading,
away.
I have done river rescue training, and I can tell you that in moderate whitewater, getting whitewater to your knees makes it hard to stand, and when the whitewater reaches your hips, you are flushed away.
Mm-hmm.
You need 5
It's
or 6
unbelievable.
people. Yeah, it is. The power of water
It's
is
unbelievably
deceptive.
powerful.
You'd
Yeah.
be surprised. It doesn't take much water either because, like, you guys sound like you've had a hell of a lot more experience than I have. I had a minimal of experience. Like, we have this river nearby where I'm from that was like every year we'd go down. And yeah, it's not nearly as treacherous or as bad as some of this shit here. So I can only imagine what you guys have gone through. And that was a struggle. So yeah, like what these guys are doing here is not for the faint, right? Like it's
Yeah, and you think you can fight the water too. Like
No.
we had a nor'easter up here, and we're near the water, and my parents' house was flooded. And I was much younger. I was like 20 years old. I was able to make it walk through the water that was raging through, but I was in great shape back then, and I almost got swept away at one point, into the ocean. I was like, holy shit, when you start, you're like, oh, it doesn't look that bad. I can walk through that. I'm, He-Man macho Mark, right? And then you're like, holy shit. A, it was a December, so it was freezing. It was cold, and then you're like, man, I could barely make it through here. And then it started to get light. There's like a dip in the road, and then when I walked the other side of the road, my parents' house was only flooded by a few feet, thank God. And the first thing we found was a generator floating in the basement, like the brand new generator my dad bought for the storm. It's like motherfuckers, it's floating. But yeah, the power of the water is just amazing. I mean, it's just you can't fight it. I mean, you think you can, but you can't. Yeah.
That kid looks creepy. Even that
CC
kid looks
karaoke.
creepy.
It's CC karaoke. This kid, CC.
This kid, like with this intro, like at first I'm like, okay, there's a jam session. This is okay. I see they're bonding, but then it keeps going and it gets louder and it's still. I'm like, okay, this is going on a little long. What's this trying to tell me here that going on? And I'm like, something about this feels very like
starts to
very
go
dark. And
funnily enough, I don't know if it's true or not. I read it somewhere that this kid couldn't actually play the banjo. So somebody else is picking on the left. Somebody else, is doing the fretwork on the left. But they wanted him for his looks. For,
I can see why.
I can see why. I mean, he fit the part. Give the kid credit where it's due. He definitely fits the part.
He didn't know how to play. That's a claim that's been made. I've also heard the claim from people who play banjo that the fingering makes no sense, even if it was done by somebody who knew what they were doing.
Okay, right.
But he was hired for his look, and I think part of the thing here is that my read is, and this is a different take, Nick, is that nothing ever happens out in the woods there. I mean, these guys showing up is a big deal, and for them to hear a banjo and guitar duet, you see the guy start dancing by the gas pump. That was impromptu. That wasn't scripted. He just started dancing.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, but to people out here, this is like going to the hoedown came to our house last Saturday. So, from the point of view of the locals, this is a big event. This is the best thing that's happened to them all week.
I guess they get pissed off because their valley is going to be flooded. So
they are pissed off about that.
Well, they see as who are these people who come in, and they know that they're tourists because they obviously it seems that this is one of those like small areas where I guess you could say everyone knows each other. There are also cars that they don't recognize, and they can see like with the way their clothes are too. Like they look fresh
city
and
boys.
new. Thank you. They're city boys. And they could tell they are not from around these parts. They just know they could smell it on them.
I think they're also upset because Burt's not got a mustache.
I mean, I guess you could say there's some validation there.
The old man who pumps the gas, the first thing he asks them is, "You from the power company?"
Yeah.
So they're suspicious of them from the get-go. And a little trivia: the the banjo player, really liked Ronnie Cox. And he's supposed to, give him a hard stare and then turn away at the end when he wants to play another song. And he couldn't do it because he didn't want to get mad at Ronnie Cox. But he hated Ned Beatty. So they had Ned Beatty walk over and join Ronnie Cox at the end of the song. And that helped the guy get a real angry look on his face and turn away. That was entirely because Ned Beatty was standing there.
Isn't it ironic they're going to flood their valley to produce more electricity, and these people don't even have electricity themselves?
Yeah,
right. Exactly.
There's irony for you, but
because it's all going to be sent to Atlanta, to the suburbs.
But such a joyful song, dueling banjos, and yet it just feels so off.
Dude. Well, to me, I felt once again it seemed really cheerful. They're like, there's the smiles, they're bonding. And I don't know if it's because maybe it's because it got louder and it kept going. That's why I'm like, okay, this is starting to get really weird now.
Yeah.
Because now I was actually kind of questioning myself. Like, is this like a me issue? Like, is it because I've been so around, I guess you could say, instant things that happen where they go on for a minute and then that's it, or even 3 seconds. Especially with let's just put it this way. Someone who grew up on Instagram Reels, TikTok videos, they wouldn't finish that scene. They'd be like, what's going on here? I got to turn this off. Okay. They don't have the attention span to get by that type of scene. Then I realized, oh, hold up. There's more here. That's when I had to really make the connection in my head as it started getting weirder. Okay, there's something up here.
Yeah, what's going? I mean, to me, and I've thought about this before because I've often wondered how come it starts so slowly, and I realized after watching it a couple of times that Ronnie Cox's character is teaching the kid a song. Dee 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 dee. Yeah, and chords, and then more picking, and he
So
changes
it's
key.
It's that way around, and it's not the other way around. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Ronnie Cox is teaching the kid the song, but the kid is such a great banjo picker and such an intuitive musician that once Ronnie says, "Okay, I'm with you, let's go," the kid leaves him for dead and finishes the song solo. All Ronnie Cox can do at the end is come in with a final chord.
Yeah, can't compete with that. And it does become a competition in the end between the kid and there's the the outsiders coming into the town, and naturally, the city slickers, quote unquote, are gonna make fun of these people, but this is all they've got, and this is how they live, and they're prideful people here. And
That's it.
You see that disabled girl in the house, and there's no opportunity for these people. So, Ned Beatty's character is a real a-hole.
Yeah.
Oh
to
God,
these,
yes.
to these guys. So and how stupid is that too? I mean, you're out of your element. You got to have some situational awareness. At least Burt Reynolds is, a good guy here in terms of smoothing things over, and he of course he's looks like the toughest guy in the group, but screw around with these guys, you're not going to last long, and then you find out what happens later. But I think it's really it's a class. You see the city people versus the country people, and I'm not going to mess with the country people. They're better armed.
Well, they don't. They hold them in contempt. They don't respect them, which therefore leads them to underestimate them. And that's why when this guy says, "If you get in there and can't get out of there, you wish you wasn't there," and that's their final warning.
This is great. I love this guy. What are you going to do
what
that
hell do you want to
for?
fuck? Yeah, what do you want to fuck around with that river for?
He still
Like
doesn't
Edmund
get it.
Hillary.
What
It's there,
for?
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Dearest for $1.99, he gives us some thumbs up for super sticker. Thank you, Dearest. Hope you're well, sir. Hopefully you're enjoying the show. Ace Hanlon, to answer your question really quickly, YouTube, there's something up with YouTube. It is down right now. That's why you're seeing the number go up from 1 to 5. It's because it is down, but the show must go on. We ain't stopping. We're still having fun. We're still having the conversation. But thank you for being here, sir. And hopefully that clears things up. So let this be a signal to Nick that plugging into Rumble and Twitter is important.
One other thing about this scene,
Go for
inflation. Multiply every one of these offers and counter offers by 7. So he offers him 210. The guy counters with 350, and they settle on 280. And back in 1972, it was $30, $50, and $40.
Yep. A lot more money back then. Yep.
Oh, I know, right?
What's it cost
Nowadays,
to fill up a gas tank with
that's nothing.
$5.
Yeah,
And of
that'd
course
be like
they-
offering
they
somebody
stopped
75 cents. Like offered him
Yeah.
like $1.50.
Burt Reynolds does have the rebel flag on front of his.
Yeah,
Jeep
there's a
car.
few. Yeah, I was gonna say there's a few Confederate flags in this thing. Now,
Yeah.
Mark, did I hear correctly? Because I think it was when I had to attend to my thing. Did I hear you say you had done this type of stuff before?
Yeah. I mean, with the scouts, you do this kind of thing. You go, but nothing. Rapids, nowhere near as strong as these. But they drop you off in the top. You drive to the. Sometimes you drive to the top, or I mean, the crew will drive you to the top. And you have all your canoes and stuff, and you come back down where your campsite is typically how it goes. Or you'll start at the top, and then the truck will take all your stuff for the camp out. Where you're going to end up. So, but the kids always have a really lot of time, great time with us, and no one does bring a banjo. I do ban the banjos on the trips.
Like this is too creepy.
I mean,
I already saw what happens in the movies.
There's always whenever you're rafting. I mean, you always hear that dueling banjos if someone makes a crack. And the ironic thing is, this became a huge tourist attraction down there, and Whitewater, and a couple of the guys that worked on this film, one of the guys, I forget the name, but he bought all the canoes and he started a whitewater rafting company. So there's 2 of them, I think, that are still active, and despite the horror of what happened to Ned Beatty and the crew, the characters, became a thing, whitewater rafting, because
It
of this
did.
movie.
Yeah, I was at a takeout when I was kayaking, and I saw a van that had "Paddle Faster, I Hear Banjos" as a bumper sticker.
Oh yeah, oops.
And if there hadn't been anybody around, that might have had 2 flat tires by the time they came back to it. Because I hate that. I really do. I really hate that. You are identifying with Ned Goddammit Beatty if you're doing that. And I'm like, I don't want to identify with Ned Beatty's character. I really don't. I don't want to identify with Bobby. Shit, no.
Oh man, it is so crazy that we have 3 straight of these Burt Reynolds movies and we don't have the stats, and this is the Burt Reynolds month. Like, once again, the timeliness of how do we do that? How did we get to that point? Like, hey, let's do some Burt Reynolds movies. Let's do a Burt Reynolds month. We always kept saying we should do it.
No dash, yeah.
And then
we're getting Zen.
No dash.
We're getting Zen Burt Reynolds in this.
Yeah.
All these Zen phrases.
The
One
mustache is too
must
toxic
lose
for us.
oneself to find oneself.
Yeah, Burt Reynolds was supposed to be the next Marlon Brando, and you can see it in this movie in a couple of scenes. And he was actually proposed to play Sonny Corleone, or one of the Corleone brothers, in The Godfather. And Marlon Brando put the kibosh on that and said, if he's in my movie, I'll quit.
That's not how he said it. Tom could do it in the right accent, though. I quit.
Back. This is.
I don't like the idea of my friend getting cornhole in the woods, and then me taking revenge is not the proper thing to do. I don't even know if I killed the right man.
Oh, we went back and looked for that, Tom. After the movie was over, we looked for the teeth and we looked for the silver ring on the right hand, and I'd say they got the right guy.
I see why. Go ahead.
The guy at the top of the cliff has bridges, at least one, and he has the same ring on his right hand that the Toothless Man does in the scene with Ned Beatty and John Voight. So I'd say they got the different. I think they got the right guy. I think it was.
Yeah. But I like that ambiguity though, because it leaves the viewer. We're skipping to the end here, but you're not sure. Was it just the brother-in-law that went hunting, or one of the cops?
And
I think the wrong guy.
And I think they left it ambiguous because I think the author in the book, it really did make it clearer that they shot the wrong guy, and they decided to take out a final scene where they mentioned in the trivia that it was they didn't know which body it was, and they named three people, but there are only 2 guys that got killed in the movie. So they originally had a third potential corpse, and I think that was the idea, that they shot the wrong guy, but then they took that out, and with that scene missing, essentially, I think it's a little ambiguous, but I think they got the right guy. But
in the book, it's the wrong guy. In the book, it's the wrong guy. Yep. Yes. I like it being the wrong guy. I think it makes it scarier for the characters, and then you don't know what's gonna. That's always living over your head. I mean, I was reading something the other day. They caught someone, like 40 years later, mom who would abandon a baby, but through DNA, she probably thought she was going to get away with it forever, but now with DNA, so that last scene you could take that last scene with the hand coming out of the water, either as a nightmare or reality, or maybe it was, but then once the river gets flooded, no one's going to be able to find the body anyway. It's just going to be flooded. But
have you guys seen the South Park scene that kind of spoofs this movie?
I don't think so.
I have not. No.
What, Tom? Do we know what the policy is with South Park and their clips? Do they go nuts, or are we good? Do you think we would be good if we did every few seconds of a particular clip? Because I'm thinking about playing it. If not, worst comes
I would only
to
play I wouldn't play more than 10 seconds of anything.
Well, yeah, I probably do 7
I was just gonna
every
say,
7.
Yeah, something like that.
All right, let's share it. Let's brace yourself, kids. So, some of you will remember this. I remember this. And actually, I had seen this before I'd seen the movie, so I had no idea. Not make the connection till, well, recently, admittedly. Anyways, let's watch the clip.
What you doing in our neck of the woods? Now, let's you just drop them pants. Drop? Just...
Yeah, the music probably gets you before the.
Yeah, the music will get you.
Is this Disney? Is this Disney? Or they need to have Kathleen Kennedy in this scene now too.
She'd be the one doing the graping. Yeah.
If she were the pie, in the scene,
she'd be doing the
They
graping.
would hear the end of it. Yeah, that's true. She would be the.
She would be doing graping.
True. No, you're right. She would definitely be the graper. All right. I brought it down a notch, so I apologize for those in the chat. I know it's volume's already naturally a little low, but I'm doing this to cover myself. But look, you can see the title here. So in case you look for it, Deliverance, 1972 South Park, minute 27 seconds.
Take them right off. Now, what do you guys want?
Don't say anything, just do
it. I just realized how they gave Lucas the teeth like the hillbilly. They gave him that look too.
Yeah.
Oh god.
There's been a lot of things have spoofed this. I know the SCTV did a spoof of it.
Oh, did they?
You can't find it online anywhere, that clip. They did one.
It got disappeared.
I think it was more of the banjo.
And Spielberg
I think
has
Saturday Night Live did one, I'm pretty sure.
Wow. All right. Oh no. All right, I know where we are.
Pull off that little bitty shirt there too.
You pull off that Beatty shirt. I was like, oh, that's supposed to be a nod to Ned Beatty.
Oh, Nick, you can put the captions on. Maybe turn the captions on.
Yeah,
I think even the Muppets had a banjo scene that might have been a spoof, but obviously they had the banjo scene, not the other stuff.
Oh, what? The Muppets?
Yeah.
No.
It's just a hillbilly banjo scene, but I don't think it was a grape reference. It would never be, of course.
Take them off.
This is horrific.
Yeah. Harrison Ford always claimed to belong in a museum. No, I can't do that as well as Tom. Tom is like perfect for that. Tom's probably gonna be disappointed.
I belong in a museum.
Kermit plays the banjo. Squeal like Miss Piggy.
Squeal like Miss Piggy.
Now, do we? No, we'll get to it when we get to a scene.
There, boy. I bet you can squeal.
Boy, South Park. Little did I know. Little did I freaking know.
You're like, what's that from?
Go on, squeal. Squeal now. Squeal. Squeal. Squeal.
Wow.
Oh dear.
Wow. Yeah. Absolute.
This is definitely South Park out there.
Yeah.
They're not scared of anything. I mean, they've shown pictures
No.
of the prophet and
yeah. I remember when they were supposed to do a speech and Comedy Central blurred their entire speech out and they put out a statement that the very next morning said, just so you know, we had no intentions of backtracking whatsoever. That was all Comedy Central. We gave them the product that was completed as was. Anything that was blurred out was strictly on them. And I actually do believe them on that. I do believe them on that. They have no fear.
Feel louder. Whee! Louder, louder. Whee! Louder. Get down there, boy. Whee! Get that bitch down. Yes,
It's
sir.
not so much a parody. It's not really a parody; it's a direct recreation of the scene,
Yeah.
just with different people in it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is. It is brutal. It is, and you know, it was one of those rare scenes too, where well, it happened to a dude. We'll do this a few more seconds. We get the idea.
Come on, squeal.
No, that's a disturbing face to leave it at. Oh man, yeah, that's a very disturbing face to leave it at. Oh, no way! Tiny Toons made a reference. Tetrarch Apathy says Tiny Toons made a reference in one of their movies to the dueling banjo scene. The Kid Possum became a semi-recurring character.
Wow.
They're flirting with disaster. Doing
That's a great
Dude.
song too.
I remember liking Tiny
Molly
Toons
Hatchet.
when I was a kid. So obviously I'm not going to remember that at all, but it makes me wonder.
So according to the director, they picked the hardest river to do this on, the Chattooga or something. Chattooga. Berman said we picked the hardest one, the one that was graded the most difficult to film.
I like
on.
how you said graded.
Graded. Well, they do. They grade them. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a 5.
Pretty tough one. Yeah.
I know
it's a 5. There's only one rating higher. That's 6.
Yeah. And they're doing all their own stuff here. Yeah.
Mark, I got that great article you sent, by the way. That was an excellent read, and I feel like that definitely
Thank
will, no, seriously, I don't know how you find those wonderful things like Joker. Where does he find those wonderful toys? No, but learning about them, like, because I knew that they had done a lot of these guys did their own stunts, but they have these stuntmen backup just in case. I thought that was really cool. So, and it shows you once again they really did believe that these actors could try to genuinely pull off as much of it as possible. And also, not only did Warner Brothers have no faith in this movie, whichever studio it was,
Warner Brothers.
So it was Warner Brothers. Okay.
Yep.
They were trying to like trim the budget as much as possible to get them to just, it sounds like, just be over this movie and just let it go. It's clear that they wanted this thing to be dead on arrival. Is it funny how the more they trim the budget, the more it ended up becoming profitable in their favor? Sounds like a lesson they should learn today.
According to Borman, if a studio doesn't want you to make the movie, they don't cancel it. They just reduce your budget and hope you go away. One of the things that he had to do to save money when you talk about most of these actors doing their own stunts is that he didn't insure the production. So none of these actors were insured for the stunt work that they did. Yeah. And Ned Beatty, who was the only one who had any paddling experience, believe it or not, even though
he looks like he's a good paddler in the end. Yeah.
In the end, yes. But in the beginning, he looks like a complete noob. But he was the only one who'd actually paddled rivers on a canoe before. But he went over one ledge and got sucked into a hydraulic or a hole, and he was underwater for over 30 seconds. And an assistant director dove in to try and save him, which is silly. You try and throw him a rope if he comes to the surface and drag him out of it, because now you get 2 people sucked into a hydraulic. He came out and Borman said, "How do you feel?" He says, "I thought I was going to die." And my first thought was, how are they going to finish the film if I drown? And the second one is, that son of a bitch will probably find a way to finish the film if I drown.
Now I know why they get the backwoods guys get upset at them. They just killed their cousin.
Dude, I thought all about that because, I've heard it, a lot of the hick jokes about, no, please don't touch my brother, that's my job type of stuff. I was just like, wow, is this where a lot of the stereotypes started? And I wondered about another one of the I don't know if you said a stereotype, but saying the squeal like a pig. Did that start with this movie? Was this the word guy called? Because I remember hearing that quote as far back as being a kid. I can't tell you where I first heard it, but I know I heard those words, and I didn't know that was like based off of anything. I thought it was just like a thing that's people said.
That is a reference in every one of those jokes to the scene in this movie. Yeah. That's how influential this movie influenced horror movies and parodies for decades. When we get to the end, I got another one that's one of the biggest influences on horror movies. But no, the stereotypes are already there. I read one article that claimed that when Hollywood felt it could no longer use Yahtzees as villains, they decided they'd substitute Southerners and hillbillies in particular. And this movie is the purest example of Hollywood using hillbillies as villains. And it just became a trope, which is why everybody uses the squeal like a pig, paddle faster, I hear banjos, and all of that other crap, is because Hollywood latched on to this as a stereotype of Southerners, and particularly backwoods Southerners.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense, which is really fun because I know I read about John Moorman. I'm missing his name. Boorman. He said that when they're actually making the movies, he said that people in the area are actually really nice people. He said, which is like the thing about it is like, even though we had this depiction in the movie, he said when we were working in the area, like people were actually really easygoing about everything. We're very accommodating, which is ironic considering we see how, I guess you could say, unaccommodating some of them were, especially with the awkward banjo scene and all. But he said people were actually really nice to them about everything. And I see a paddle, and I'm just, if only Gary's here for a backdoor joke. And that paddle, oh boy, that's a missed opportunity, Gary. You missed your opportunity for you to be here, so I could say something about that. Pinochet's helicopter tour for 6 months. Thank you, Pinochet. Use the South Park, Deliverance, Spielberg, and Lucas representations for future videos. Fair is fair after the betrayals to the franchises and fans. Ooh, I missed something. Do tell me. I may have missed something in the world. And what do I think of John Voight in this movie? I think he's excellent in this movie. I think he's straight up excellent. I didn't know it was his debut movie. To me, it was just a good movie with a great performance.
I don't think it was John Voight's debut. It was Ned Beatty and Ronnie Cox with the newbies.
Yes.
Okay.
John Voight had been in Midnight Cowboy and stuff like that.
Yes, but John Voight's previous movie was a disaster, and he was seriously depressed. And he credits Boorman casting him in this for saving his life, because he thought his career was over. His previous movie had been such a mess, they gave up. The studio gave up on it. I don't even think it was released. So this was his comeback.
Jolie too. So God bless him.
Yes.
Well, we can take this thing over.
Yeah, because he was in Midnight Cowboy before this, right? Catch 22.
Yes, he was.
Looking at and then his career,
which is kind of a role reversal. That's kind of a role reversal of this. Midnight Cowboy, the country bumpkin goes to the city and gets sexually exploited. Here, the city guys go out to the countryside and get sexually assaulted.
Yep.
I can see a common theme here.
It's almost the flip side.
Don't go anywhere or you'll get sexually assaulted.
Well, you do realize that Midnight Cowboy was rated X when it came out.
Yeah, that's right.
Nobody
go anywhere.
Let's just pretend that this was actually a thing that happens. I never understood what is the point of trying to do this to two dudes when you're a dude. It's one thing when you have unwelcome people who you find unwelcoming in your territory, but why would you want to do that to them? That just
that's the most degrading thing you can do to someone. I mean, that's
like in prison or
so it's a form of war, horrific warfare, when they, this would be done, sometimes in war. So, it's just think of what's the worst. What other than, physical, it is a physical torture, but other than,
it's degrading. Yeah.
Degrading.
Power.
It's the most degrading.
Exactly. Power degrading. Yeah. That's what sexual assault is.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That makes sense. Okay.
And there is a big contrast between these two guys and everybody they've met so far, and even the people they meet at the end of their trip. These guys are two sick sons of bitches.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And the
yeah.
reason, and what bugs me about this movie is that nobody ever remembers the guy dancing while banjo music's being played, or the guys who actually did deliver their cars to Aintree
That's right.
Mhm.
without doing anything with. They could have left them out in the woods and just went and told all their friends and relatives, "Hey, there's a couple of brand new car and a brand new truck sitting out in the
Yep.
woods right near the river. Go on down and help yourself to anything you like."
I
They
guess
didn't do
No,
that.
they're
No,
they're
they didn't. I
trustworthy
think
though, and yeah.
They
I was
were.
gonna say I think that was part of the movie. It's just one of those things where they were just saying, "Okay, well, you chose to come over here. You're gonna see what happens and find out." I guess it was the fuck around find out of 1972, basically.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you want to get metaphysical, this scene is almost like these are the spirits of the land that's being graped by the reservoir, exacting their revenge on its revenge on the outsiders. But that's getting into serious metaphorical territory. But
I was very careful with my clips though, because this is
yeah,
a horrific
That-
scene.
th-
So-
I just realized I was muted.
I hear Benoit here. I said Benoit, but yes, yeah, it's funny because when I have been in Chirac recently, and yeah, I could definitely feel let's just say the dirtiness as soon as I'm in there. Now I'm not going and saying that everyone out there is just bad because they're in the city, but there's definitely there's an aroma now when I enter that I didn't notice then to now.
I don't know how long I've been muted, but these two guys are not like the other people they've met out in the mountains. But on a metaphysical level, and I think this was from the article that Mark D. with the Sea found, these guys are almost the retribution, if you will, the spirits of the land being destroyed by the lake and the dam, exacting the revenge. And that's why I said there's a foreshadowing in the voiceover at the beginning. And, the question is, what drives these guys to do this? There isn't any real motive. You're right.
We don't
It's
get
just
any
like, why would you do that?
There's never any
So-
background about them. Yeah.
It's almost a symbolic, to me, it's almost a symbolic scene. And this whole movie is about a fish out of water and people being pushed off of where they belong.
Yep.
People who go where they don't belong and people who are forced out of where they do belong. And the conflicts that arise from that. And I mean, I realize that's getting into, high school English essay territory, but
You're not going to
on
make
its
us write
face-
about this after the show.
No,
are you?
no. You won't have any homework for this one. Mark.
No homework. Yeah.
But
No, it's a great point,
on
though,
the
yeah.
face of it, this is a absolutely horrific movie. But the only other movie I can compare it to would be Clockwork Orange, where you have to dig into that movie to find out anything of value beyond the surface action of that movie, which is just horrible. So there is more to this movie than just this incredible violence, and that's why, Nick, I pasted the comment. Roger Ebert didn't get any of that. To him, this movie was all on the surface. And his partner there, Gene Siskel, actually said, "It's a gripping horror story that many times may force you to look away from the screen, but it's so beautifully filmed your eyes will eagerly return." This is a beautifully made movie in an incredible setting. And I think there's a whole lot of subtext to this movie that isn't, that you have to look for in order to get anything out of it other than, holy crap, this thing is hard to watch.
Yep.
Get down there, boy.
Mark loves that scene.
Yeah, I
Just
I
make it
clipped
plain.
just a few little bits there, but just the laughing, the reaction by either his brother or friend.
Better than that, boy. You do better than that. Come on, squeal. Squeal.
It is one of the most horrific scenes I've ever seen in
Yeah,
a movie.
and
to
then
this day.
And then the director, Reynolds actually walked into the scene to stop it. I was reading one of the articles about it, and he said, "Well, why'd you do that?" And he's like, "Oh, I just figured I'd let the scene go for as long as I could, and then just to see how horrible it would be, because the actors just couldn't. They said the cameraman couldn't even look at it when they were filming it. So, it's one of those scenes. Yeah, it gets made fun of, but it's really should. I mean, in one level, yeah, you make fun of it, but you really watch the movie, and it's not meant to be a funny, funny thing or taken light of. It's become part of the culture though, that scene. And, squeal like a pig, and you treat it lightly sometimes, but when you watch this movie, this movie is not just a canoe trip, right? There's a lot of deeper meanings. As Red Shirt was saying, when you really look at it, it's there's a lot going on here. Yeah, here's the last scary clip.
Those
Yeah,
damn those damn New York Rangers.
The President's Trophy winners. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just kidding. That's what they look like.
Of course, look what happened to the Bruins last year. Not to get sidetracked, I mean, but they exited the first round. So God, who knows?
So
but, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, earlier, because they were busy, not mocking, but gently mocking Burt's survivalist skills earlier. Well, they need them now.
Yep.
They're glad of them now.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they don't know
Bill
what to do
McKinney-
too as a group. Like, well, it's just to say, like, what do they do here now, right? So,
Yeah, they're gonna get
as a
railroaded.
group, there's a moral dilemma. Like, yeah, we're gonna we're gonna have to go on a trial here, and then everyone's related to everyone, and you think they're gonna. How do you think they're gonna choose? Their kin over some city folk who came here,
and then humiliation
Right.
for Ned Beatty. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Bill McKinney, who's the mountain man here who gets shot with the arrow, actually prepared for his death scene. It said, I read in IMDb, by learning to hold his breath and not blink for up to 2 minutes.
Wow.
Now, that's a dedicated actor right there. Where you're going to have a death scene. You got to lie there while they all argue, and you don't breathe or blink for a 2-minute take.
Well, Ned Beatty's gonna get his revenge.
Okay, I
He
gotta
wants
ask you
to.
guys a question about this scene. So after
Okay.
you obviously see payback happen to the hillbilly who was the graper, was there not a thing? And I'm sorry, I'm gonna sound really, really retarded for asking this, but was like self-defense not as common of a thing back then? I only asked it because they were so concerned about this guy that they killed who straight up committed a crime of them. And I thought to myself,
Yeah,
not
but-
one time did they say in the scene, well, this guy struck us, and
But that's the city liberals, Nick, that they are. Oh,
Right.
we've just killed a man. Well, just look what he was doing to you. They don't.
Well, here's
ever-
the thing. Here's the thing, Nick, and
I'm genuinely asking. I'm not trying to be
yes.
politically
No,
spiteful or
Lewis
anything.
Lewis alludes to it. We killed a man. We shot him in the back.
Mhm.
Now, how are they going to prove that he did what he did
Yeah,
to
that's
Ned
true.
Beatty when the evidence that would be presented in court is that these 4 men encountered 2 men in the woods and shot one of them in the back with a hunting arrow?
Mhm.
After graping
That doesn't
Ned
sound
Beatty.
like self-defense.
Mhm.
That's
And you're
true.
gonna and you're dealing with all everyone knows everyone. It's all insiders, and it's probably the sheriff. It could have been the sheriff's, relatives, or
Yeah.
what's the jury gonna
Well,
look like?
Yeah, they could have said you boys were having a little fun, and then you decided to cover it up.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you
I'm
outsiders.
just
Yeah,
surprised it wasn't even entertained as a conversation because, like, once again, like, hey, my friend here had this happen to him. Clearly he was obviously, humiliated, deep person, whatever, insert word there. He was definitely traumatized. He probably was traumatized from this. Like,
Well,
he needs someone to go after there to him for his defense.
and Drew tries to. Ronnie Cox tries to make the case this needs to go to the law. And Lewis
Yes,
is
he did.
arguing that there is no law out here.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
we
ironic.
don't look good
need to
in the
play
eyes
Cities
of
for
the
local
law.
law today.
Right.
out here I'm the
So-
law. In town you're the law. Out here it's me.
Right.
The famous quote from
Yeah.
Let It Go, Let It Go.
I don't think the law even want to know. It
Yeah.
would just be a complete inconvenience for them if you took this to the nearest law. Like, oh, geez, what have you brought to us? Why have you done this?
Right.
I see all the comments. Yeah, people are like, "Oh, they could check Ned Beatty's." But I mean, yeah, as funny as that is, but there is a bit
There's
of
no DNA back then.
There's no flashlight.
yeah.
There's no DNA testing.
That's why that part I can understand. I can absolutely let that be because
Yeah.
I mean,
technology
when
is
women
so
got
there.
raped back then, they barely cared about it. So, can you imagine how they would react? If a guy claiming to be raped. Do you think they even believe that it happened?
That's
mean-
true. I mean,
I
not
mean-
especially not as many movies have it happen where it happens to the man. I mean, you had this American History X.
Not just that, the embarrassment of it and all that too.
The
Yeah.
embarrassment, yeah, the humiliation. Hey, Bill McKinney's a good actor, though.
Yep.
He's just a support there. But yeah, he's a great actor. He was a great actor. He's dead now, unfortunately. But yeah, a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and then you also the 70s, you start to have this. Nick was actually about self-defense. The kung fu craze, martial arts started in the 70s. I don't know how early it started, but as a kid, I remember that everyone was kung fu fighting Bruce Lee. That was a huge deal. Of course, Marvel had Shang-Chi, the Karate Kid, and Legionnaire. Karate Kid movie was later, but the comic book character, the Karate Kid, and people were starting to get into weightlifting a little bit and working out and self-defense. So that kind of was just, I think it was just starting. Then of course with the popularity of Schwarzenegger and Stallone later, everyone was buying weight sets. And I remember driving down to Mount Vernon, New York, and I bought a Lou Ferrigno weights and weight sets that I found out years later was actually his brother was using his name without his consent to sell Lou Ferrigno weights. So there was but I didn't know. I thought they were, they said Lou Ferrigno on them, still have them, but that became like a huge thing. But these guys are out on their own too, so they've just got these bow and arrows. They don't have, they're just four guys. So who knows what they're going to encounter?
I can't remember.
No cell phones back then, right?
Did they take his shotgun? Did they take Bill McKinney's shotgun? No, they threw it.
They buried it.
They threw that.
Yeah.
They buried it with him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because that could be traced back with the serial number too, right? If they find
there's no serial numbers out there.
Could be. But,
there weren't no gun registration in
Where's
Georgia
your license
in
for that
1972.
firearm? Yeah.
Yeah, right. Not
well,
then.
It would
and
have,
not
well,
there.
it would have a serial number on it, but it could be be traced. But
have you never scraped a serial number off a weapon?
Are you gonna get me in trouble here? My arsenal's gonna be revealed. Yeah, well, especially a shotgun. But you never know. Like they're smart. They were smart to do that. Don't ever try this on anyone. But yeah, I mean
it
they don't
becomes an
get caught
action.
with it.
Now we get into the action movie section from now on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, yeah,
And
that's
that's-
where I realized. Oh, this is
Reynolds
now.
go.
Oh,
Yep.
no. Ooh.
Well, I got to
That's
read this line here. So, regarding the courage of the four main actors in the movie performing their own stunts without insurance protection, Dickey was quoted as saying, all of them had more guts than a burglar, and as a nod to the stunt performing audacity. Early in the movie, it says insurance. Yeah, this red shirt quoted. Yeah, I've never been insured in my life. I don't need insurance. There's no risk. And then when Reynolds, he wanted to do the stunt, that stunt we just saw. He said, we got to reshoot that scene, because they did it, I guess, with a dummy going over. They said, yeah, you got to redo it with me in it. And so he banged his shoulder in his head, and it was,
he broke his coccyx.
Yeah, he broke his
tailbone.
His Ronnie Coccyx.
He broke his Ronnie Coccyx. Yeah.
Coccyx. Yeah. Well, the first thing is that that he said you can't use that because it looks like a rag doll going over a cliff. So he says, let me do it. So he did it, broke his coccyx, and limps over to the director and said, how did it look? And the director said, Boorman said to him, it looked like a rag doll going over a cliff. Going over a waterfall.
Okay,
adding insult to injury.
Lewis said earlier in the movie, and I think I heard it correctly, where he said, joking about insurance, who needs that? And did I hear that correctly? He didn't have car insurance. I'm thinking to myself, what? So was car insurance optional back then, or was he just a city guy, not caring? I want to know. Either way,
by the way,
I was like, did I miss something else from the 70s too that I didn't know about? Because obviously you guys were filling me in on the self-defense stuff and what was, what wasn't. And that was making me think, what was insurance that way too, or lack thereof?
You had to have car insurance, but I think he's talking about maybe any extra insurance, or if you go on a trip,
life insurance, medical insurance. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, that shot that Mark showed of Burt Reynolds somersaulting down the the waterfall or the ledge, whatever it is.
Yeah.
In the movie Hooper later, where Burt Reynolds is playing an aging stuntman, at one point he's showing home movies of his stunts. That briefly comes on the home movie reel of Burt Reynolds in
Oh, nice.
Deliverance, somersaulting through the air and back into the water. So that was one of his true stunts, and it wound up.
That's
in
just
Hooper.
crazy to do that too. I mean, today, could you imagine? I guess Tom Cruise is the only nut out there that does a lot of stunts, but there's a lot more safety and preparation. Like these guys are probably just go in the canoe and go. You know, it's there probably were no safety lines, or it's not a controlled.
Well, not like
sometimes
today, no.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. They're
No,
not.
they actually had. I mean, in this gorge, they had people falling and slipping on rocks, bruising themselves. They were having constant minor injuries just filming in this section of the river, because it's just that unforgiving. This gives you an idea. That's why I said, if I looked at this footage and they told me, "Oh, that's the Chattahoochee," I'd be like, "Well, I'm never paddling that."
Yeah, screw that. Yeah,
This is just
It's
incredible.
scary.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, it's scary stuff. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I love this movie. I haven't said a whole lot, and I'm sorry, but
No, it's okay. I know you've
Yeah,
been
no.
dealing with some things today, so
I'm just tired now. But fucking, I mean, it's a great movie. The first time I didn't see it until I was like a teenager. I mean, I knew all the isms going into it, but I didn't really expect it to be as good or engrossing of a movie as it is, because it is slow moving at first. It's a slow burn.
yes, it's a very slow first hour, and then it really
Yeah.
racks up second hour.
And I mean, of course, it is kind of weird where they just take a dead stop in the middle of the movie to play a whole song. But I mean, that song was huge for the movie, right?
Yep.
And even though it got them sued later on and they had to change a few things, but they worked it all out in the end. But there was another song that was supposed to be in the movie, an original song. I don't know if you guys did you guys know this?
No, go on.
You gonna play it for us?
Yeah.
All
Can't wait.
Give it a moment. We all Tom's on
The banjos are getting loaded up here.
Yeah.
Get your banjos ready.
As we're seeing a horrific scene happen to the guys when the ships break, and oh dude, and freaking Drew, like he just like, and it seems like it has been like, did he not get shot? Like there was he just like in the trauma, he just knocked out, and I think he got shot. That's what I think it was. What happened?
Helps
that
if
he
you
got
actually push the right button. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
guys.
it's okay. Go ahead.
Oh,
We're
down
pension's
the river
killing me.
on a canoe trip with a few friends and a chubby wimp. It was a good old time and we were doing fine till we ran into a couple of shady folks who wanted to give us the poke. The fat wimp didn't have much luck. He met a hillbilly who liked to fuck, but our other friend drowned or maybe got shot. We don't know, but we had to go. So we got the fuck up out of there. Lord, deliver us home, this ain't fair. Such a lovely day ruined by something totally gay. Rolling on down the river, winding on down the river, us from those hillbilly creeks before we get into fucking gate. I'm sure Chubby thinks we already did. Shot one with an arrow, now I'm gonna take the straight and narrow. And now that my friend is dead, I'm never going down that river again. So we got the fuck up out of there. Lord, deliver us home, this ain't fair. Such a lovely day ruined by something totally gay. Literally, you sure do have a pretty mouth.
But it just didn't make the soundtrack, I guess. I don't know why, but
I think it's the scratchy record sounds that did it.
well, that's just the only
Yeah.
version I could find. It's a rare. That was like a rare find.
Very rare.
Thank you for finding that.
rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the reality is that the entire soundtrack is just variations on dueling banjos.
Kind
I'm
of.
They
waiting-
didn't get
I'm
any other
waiting-
songs for the movie.
Tom, I'm waiting for the Taylor Swift cover of that. That's a challenge for you right there. But yeah, I don't. I mean, I think it says on Wikipedia that there is some kind of a score, but nobody's credited for it. So it's just some music, incidental music here and there. But
Is it weird that when we start to see Bobby get prepared to make his journey up the top, even though this is a old ass movie, there still felt like an element of like shock and scared, like, oh fuck, he might actually fall. Even though I know this is an old movie, I know technology is way different now. There's still
Yeah.
something about this that still felt very real to me when seeing it climb
Well,
up and thinking he could fall, especially like when there's the rain
Oh.
part, then there's part hanging on kind of sideways. There's the part where he fell asleep. Like there's many parts. It actually felt like, oh man, this is actually kind of scary. Like I can't believe I was like, and I shouldn't even feel this because this is an old movie. You know the stuff is not exactly there, but yet something about it still really sells me on that.
John Voight actually climbed that cliff. They didn't bring in a mountain climber, a rock climber, to double him. He actually had to free climb all the way to the top of that cliff with a hunting bow on his shoulder.
They give him a safety line, I hope.
No.
Well, it was too expensive.
That was too expensive. He was not. He was, as far as I know, he was not belayed. He free climbed that whole rock scramble, and that's part of that is insane. That's part of the reason Boorman said these guys had the most incredible courage to do their own stunts.
Slippery. I mean, it just takes one bad move. I mean, I've seen enough accidents on Twitter these days. You didn't get to see those years ago before people had cell phones, but everyone falling and like the guy that's on these people that go they go camping on the mountainside and they hang the tents on the side of the cliff, and then one guy you probably all seen the video where he goes to get out and he takes his girlfriend or wife with him and falls. It's like, holy crap.
It's pretty reckless, though. I mean, just to make a movie, it's kind of reckless.
Yeah.
Dedication, though. Like seriously, all the literal hard work that the actors put into this movie to make it happen. Like, and the fact that they're on the run, not just from making sure that they don't get caught, from the act that they committed, even though it was, I still argue, defense. I can see why you guys are saying that, but also from getting out of this area of unknown territory. Like, that's the scariest thing, especially like without the technology. Can you imagine the Zoomers nowadays? Can you imagine this? Like, they already don't know how to live life without technology, but they put them in an area with literal no signal, no anything. It's just land, straight raw land.
Do they even have a compass? I'm not sure if they even got a compass.
I don't. Did they make?
I never saw one.
I never saw one. So they're just navigating by whatever.
They had to have good muscle memory. Then they had to have really good muscle memory to just go for this.
The crew must have had a really tough job filming this too, because they're right down in there for these scenes.
Well, imagine. I do know the director. He said he had a lot of the stuntmen just in case there was scenes that they could put. He had them there on standby, like just in case. So that I mean, I imagine they did in order to pull it off as close as they did, especially the angles. Yeah, they had to have been fairly close. Go ahead, Tom.
Absolutely.
Tom, it seemed like you want to say something.
No, I was just going to say, like, wasn't the whole thing with the river being changed, wasn't that actually kind of written into the story because that was actually happening or something like that? I can't remember now. Or it did happen.
It did happen on a different river. They changed the name of the river.
Right.
But that was the inspiration for Hickey's story, was that this river was flooded completely out. Yeah. And Boorman decided to go to the Chattooga because it had lots of sharp rocks and looked dangerous. But it looks so pretty that they took all the color out of the color shots on the river because he didn't want it to look pretty.
Yeah, it's got this green-gray thing going on.
Yeah.
Yep.
No,
yeah,
I like
almost
the movie with the color.
And it's funny that you mentioned the Taylor Swift doing that song because I guess she did.
What?
Yeah, the whole.
I threw the challenge out and it was answered.
Yeah.
Wow.
That one we just listened to. Yeah, she did her own version, I guess. So here we go.
Oh, went down the river on a camping trip with a few friends and a chubby wimp. It was a good old time and we're doing fine till we.
I'm not gonna get hit for that, aren't I?
No.
All right, I don't mean to mute you. I'm just.
No, I own this shit.
Oh, okay.
So we got the fuck up out of there. Walked us home, this ain't fair. Such a lovely day. Ruined by something totally gay.
Well played, Tom.
Rolling on down
This kind of works really well with the slideshow.
I don't know if I can.
Perfect.
If they made the
Taylor
movie,
Swift.
if they made the movie now, that would be in the movie.
Before
Yeah.
we get into fucking deep.
Today the kids would be saying, "Well, why aren't they using their cell phones to call for help?"
Another movie that benefits from being of its time, because it's amazing how when you add how many movies from the old times you could solve with modern technology. This is definitely
Adventures in
one of
Babysitting's ruined. They can just call for an Uber and get home. Movie over. We never meet Thor.
them. Now, what year were color palettes like a dominant thing in film? I ask that because obviously they weren't as dominant back then, but I feel like this movie had like a swamp green thing going for it. You know, it's not
one
like with
is
uniforms and then the land around them. It feels like it feels like it's trying to really emphasize the green, and I don't know if that was like a color palette thing or if it's just coincidental.
And the fact
And
even the clothing they're wearing fits.
yeah,
in
that's what I mean.
completely.
It's a whole lot of green here, and I thought about that. Even when you look up above, like it, like even the guys' clothes are like it's like a green, yellow, beige. It's a
that's-
lot of green.
That's that whole color saturation thing that Borman said he did. By pulling it out, he desaturated it. And all that was left is the fact that if you showed it in full color, it would be blindingly green with highlights of other colors in it. And when you desaturated it, all he got left was this olive drab.
Olive
And gray. You know, so that's kind of, I think that's kind of a function of him trying to keep the river and the land around it, that whole setting, from looking too pretty. He wanted it to look dangerous and
Well,
menacing.
pretty isn't threatening, is it? Yeah.
Well,
No.
it worked. It definitely worked because
Oh, yeah.
it does add that look to the movie that makes you feel like it almost makes you feel like you're kind of dirty with the guys. Like, oh, I could see this, like I could see these nasty wet leaves on my shoulder. Get the stuff off, type of thing. I do feel that again in the movie. I could feel the probably like it looks like this. If I had to guess the weather temperature, it's probably really humid. They look like they're definitely in humid weather too. And you know, it don't matter how high it is, but when you add humidity to it too, humidity always makes it that much worse because you're a lot more sweatier, a lot more stickier too. And these guys look like they're on the sticky side of things.
And this is great. We see John Voight's characters. He's the one that gets the growth, the character growth.
Yep.
And I just want to go back to what Nick just said there, because we always have to slip into the gay. It was bad enough that we were already talking about cornholing earlier. Now he just had to go and say the gayest thing of the night. And then
So
we're talking
far.
about a movie where a dude gets fucked up the ass, yo.
So far, the gayest thing.
then-
That's what I'm saying.
And then
More.
everybody is moist for the whole rest of the movie.
Very
Well,
moist.
that's not the point.
Well, there's a lot of things.
Or
that
wait, it
were
was the
pointed-
point. You're
There
right.
were a
Sorry.
lot of things that are pointed in this.
I'm
movie.
confused, just like this movie and Nick.
John Voight's great in this. This is so good.
What
John
I
Voight's
like-
character.
For Voight's character of Ed, what I like with Ed is he went from this guy where I can't kill an animal, I can't do any of this stuff. I'm the most city guy. He was the family man of the bunch. He was, even though he was a city guy, he was the most settled in. He was supposed to be the most plain Jane, basically, to sum him up. He was supposed to be the plain Jane. Now he
He's
had
the voice of reason.
yeah,
voice
voice,
of
of reason. Now this time he had to transform.
He's
He
a
had to be the
psycho.
guy who had to become the hunter instead of the one who was the hunted.
He's
And
John Rambo Light in this.
literally and
Well, there-
figuratively
he is,
like.
yeah.
Well,
Which
Well,
is funny
Drew
because Bill McKinney was in First Blood, so it fits.
Oh yeah.
Drew, Ronnie Cox's character is the one who says,
Yeah.
"I don't understand how anybody could kill an animal." And here's the thing: he is a hunter. We see him. It is. I don't know if it was in the slideshow, but early in the morning, just before all the shit hits the
Oh, with the
fan,
deer.
Yeah,
with
he
the
tried.
deer, he
He's
goes
fine.
and gets a shot at a deer and gets buck fever, misses, hits his arrow into a tree, and the deer runs off.
Yeah, we saw that.
And
Yeah.
the thing is that this is why he's shaking so badly when he's trying to release the arrow at the guy with the rifle on the cliff top. He's never been able to do it on a deer.
Yep.
And you don't know whether he's going to be able to do it or whether he'll get shot if he doesn't. And he finally manages it, although he's so losing his control that he rolls over and stabs himself with one of his own broadheads, one of his own arrows.
Later, yeah. How'd you shoot yourself with your own arrow?
I didn't know you could do that.
That's the new Australian boomerang arrow.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
And and I love the suspense in that scene because the guy walks right over to the rock above him and is about to shoot him, and he throws his arm over his face, and that's when the arrow finally shuts him down, and he shoots down into the rock at his feet, falls over, and that's it. But it's he finally manages it. But he'd been trying. He just you had to write the other way. He's too citified to be able to let that arrow go.
Yeah.
When his
Well,
life
we
is
saw
on the
He's
line, though,
arguing
able
with
to do it.
himself too much.
We saw how he was with Bobby with the bow when he originally saw the deer. He's like, I can't do it.
Can't
I
shoot
can't do
Bambi.
it. Yeah. And he obviously he misses and he gets they end up just getting the ground going back. No, he got a tree.
Yeah,
Ends up going back for a sec because he realized he just didn't have the heart. Yeah.
that's
He did
Ed,
definitely
not
do
Bobby.
the biggest. We'll say it again.
That's Ed, not Bobby.
That was Ed. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
That's what
Ed.
I meant to say.
John
Ed.
Voight's
I'm
character.
sorry. Yeah,
Yeah,
I meant
yeah.
to say Ed. I don't know why.
Yeah, I know.
said Bobby.
I do this. I'm doing the same thing because all four main characters only have one name. We only know
Ricky
their first
Bobby.
names.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ed, Lewis, Bobby, and Drew. That's
Mm-hmm.
it. And we don't know a lot about most of them. We find out the most about John Voight's character,
Yes.
Ed. And I just had to look at IMDb to make sure I got it right.
Yeah, I think I got to pull up mine just to make sure I get their names right.
Yeah.
I think that's fine with a situation like this because it's not about I think they made it only one guy where you got the most out of on purpose because it really it just so you not only could you care for him the most because he had the most to be attached to and to come back to. But also he had to be that I guess you could say probably the most relatable character in that regard. He had to be the character that people connect with and rooted for to survive the trip the most. He had to be the hero essentially of the story. And if you take away get all the other guys, then it kind of starts to take out the element of the suspense and the danger of the movie. So that's why I think it's more so focused on one character and those lightly touch on the others because you still have to balance this out being a kind of a horror movie in a way. It is kind of a horror movie.
It's a horror movie. Yeah.
Oh, it is a horror movie.
I'm pretty sure those four guys were in Southern rock band Blackfoot. They're a Southern rock band.
Drew
Mark, freeze on Ronnie Cox when you get that right there.
Oh yeah, go back.
No, right there.
Yeah, right
that's
there.
it.
Yeah.
Ronnie that's Ronnie Cox's actual arm. The man was double jointed, and he suggested that he be folded up like that when they found him. That's not a prosthetic. He was double jointed. He was hyper flexible.
I'm trying to do it now, and I can't.
Yeah, but that literally is him putting his arm behind his head and down onto his chest. And he stayed that way through two shots. And I'm like, holy crap. Extra. When I read that, I was like, I could have sworn that was a prosthetic. His arm was down inside his shirt. Nope. That's the real that's his actual hand.
And this is where they find out they think he got hit in the head with a rock. Where he hit his head on a rock
because they're looking for a bullet
wound.
Shot.
Yeah, and they're like they can't find it. Yeah, they're like, oh, he didn't get shot. Yep. So the other mountain man maybe wasn't tracking them, or just
well, that's the debate, isn't it? Is that the guy?
Yeah, right. But if that other mountain man lives, he could report them, and then he
Mm.
probably knows exactly where the graping happened. So if they don't take that other mountain man out, they're going to be in big trouble. I mean,
Best not to take
but-
chances.
yeah.
But yeah, this is where they start to question whether they got the right guy on the cliff top, because if Drew wasn't in fact shot, then maybe the other guy wasn't up there, and maybe that really was just somebody who at random was looking down into the gorge that morning. So
Yep.
that's where the whole ambiguity between Drew's injuries or lack thereof and whether they got the right guy with the teeth and like I said, we looked in the ring as matches, so I think they got the right guy, but it's still questionable as to whether Ronnie Cox's character Drew was shot or not, because they don't find a bullet hole, and they just decide, you know what, a forensic specialist would be able to determine definitively whether he was shot or not, and we can't afford to take the risk, and that's why they leave him there.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty clear from what we see in our angle, he wasn't shot. He did this on purpose because he just couldn't live with the guilt of what was going on. Yeah.
Yeah, I never saw because there's been I've heard people like say, oh, you shot. I'm like, I don't see where you guys got. I feel like it seems like this movie was so definitive in the things that we saw. Like, we saw a dude get great. Why would they just not show the guy getting shot? That to me just seemed like wishful thinking, which I don't get why you'd want to wish for that to be a thing. It just seemed like it just was too much for him on a mental level.
Yeah.
It broke him, basically. That's what
Yeah.
I got out of it. I don't see where the shock of coming. Now I can see why the guys in the movie, the characters, can think that because they don't want to think. They want to think that because they want to think, oh, okay, he just couldn't handle. Of course, because they're in the moment. They're in the thick and the heat of the moment. So of course they want to come with the idea. Oh, great, we got him to agree to this thing. It kind of makes them feel and look bad to get him to agree with that. And that now he's like, I feel awful that I agreed to all this. So I could see for them, but if you're as a viewer, yeah, I don't see it whatsoever.
Yeah, you have the luxury as a viewer, but for these guys, they crossed the Rubicon when that arrow went through that mountain man's chest. And after that, they have only two paths they could take. They chose one, and that means they can't leave any thread, to pull on.
And Drew
So
was
they
the
have to-
only. He didn't want that path. He was the only one that didn't choose it.
He was exactly
Drew didn't choose it. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, they got to go. They have to take it to its conclusion now.
For better or worse, yes, they're committed.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. And then here comes the what feels like the one of the last rounds of the rowing, because it gets really, really intense with the rowing. You're like, bro, that shit's rocky. And they got friggin' Lewis basically held down, and he can't do anything. He's basically useless for the rest of the movie. And was that like one of the life preservers that they attached to his leg?
Yeah, they wrapped his leg around. God, that was a gruesome injury too. The
Oh,
sharp showing.
dude,
Every
it
bump
is
of that,
nasty
every
thing.
bump of that water will be
Compound
agony.
fracture. Ugh. Yeah, so they use that as a makeshift, which is pretty smart actually. Is this makeshift splint, and but the rest, there's not a lot of dialogue in this movie too. When you go through it,
Doesn't need it.
Doesn't need it, but it's a beautifully shot movie. I mean, it just looks gorgeous, though. I mean, aside from the horrors of the scene, but you can see why people are attracted. Like somehow this made everyone want to go whitewater rafting and canoeing. I don't think that the tourist guides would have picked. Let's pick Deliverance as there. But yeah, it became a huge thing after this movie. Yeah, so
it's funny how. Two things. You mentioning that this became a tourist attraction, even though everything about when you watch it should not be for tourists, and the fact that
people. Well, I just interrupt. The people in the 70s are much tougher, right?
Oh yeah.
Where you didn't have as many soy boys, shall we say, or people who couldn't survive some of these. I can't remember who was in the chat, and I noticed that too when we go camping. It's like they can't kids, but they can't survive without their phone. It's like they go into withdrawal, start shaking. Where's my cell phone? I gotta check Snapchat or what do they use? The kids use these days.
TikTok, yeah.
TikTok or whatever. It's like they
Mhm.
literally go through withdrawal by not having that constant. It's like, just enjoy the river, just enjoy where you are, just put all that shit away and enjoy your friends too. I mean,
You live in the moment. You live in the
Yeah.
moment because when you're living through your phone every time, you're not getting the most out of life yourself because you're just living through others. And there's a time and a place to vicariously live through ours. There is, but when you live through ours, well, then all the time, then you never actually ever get to live for yourself, and that could
Yep.
sum up why. On top of my phone having bad pictures, because my phone doesn't take good pictures, I'm not good at remembering to take photos because I'm so busy trying to live in the moment when I do things that the only thing I've been good about remembering to take photos of is pizza. Of course, because of course. But other than that, though, like even then, I try to be quick and snappy.
You
and
mean
that-
you actually enjoy a concert instead of filming it constantly and holding
Oh,
your phone
yeah,
and
I
blocking
don't
everyone
do that.
behind you?
Everyone's used to living by the screen now. They experience everything through the screen. So
Yeah.
yeah, they're at a concert, the whole concert like this.
Yeah,
They're landing a plane, they're all at the windows like this.
Yeah.
Oh, just watch it.
yeah, just
Look at
watch it.
Well, I do film the landing sometimes 70s because God
Some of
forbid
it's
something
fun.
goes wrong. I want to be able to have a few.
Depends
last
on the
words.
pilot. It depends on the
Yeah.
pilot.
Or if you're in a Boeing plane, but yeah, but that bugs me so much. I'll take I'll take a few pictures of the concert, but people holding taking a video and you're never gonna watch the GD thing again anyway. It comes
No.
out like crap. The sound sounds crappy.
Yeah, and 10,000 other people are posting it on YouTube the day after anyway. So just
Yeah.
watch theirs.
You're blending in.
Get off my lawn.
Anyways, bring
off
it
my
back,
lawn.
Mark, to what you said earlier about how it ironically became a tourist attraction. It's funny how the things that were supposed to make this area unsettling were the things that end up becoming not so
Attracted
bad
people.
about this one. It not only attracted people, but Borman mentioned earlier that even though this movie has this depiction of people in these areas depicted as, I guess you could say, unwelcoming, he said they were great. Once again, bring it back to that earlier. They were very welcoming people to work with. He said when they need to use certain scenes for extras or just use the land, he said people in this area were really accommodating. He said that it was all good. And, it seems like some people probably who were from this maybe took exception to it, but not all. It seems like it was probably just a minority because I'm sure some understood it was done for the sake of the movie, which is something a lot of people tend to forget when something's done in bad light. It's kind of like when you have to explain to a kid that let's just say you see an animal that they're attached to, like a cat. We'll just say a cat. If they see a cat being bad in the movie, they're why is the cat so mean? I like cats. Well, it's just no, that's just for this movie. There's a million other movies where their cats are nice. That's just what's going on in this movie. It doesn't. What happens in this does not translate to everywhere else. I think that sometimes gets lost in the midst of conversation. Now, if you made it today in let's just say a remake, reboot, whatever you want to call it, do I think Hollywood would load up on the message of suburbanites and farmer type people being bad? Yes. But at this time, I think it was just circumstance.
I think, Nick, that what people in Georgia, then this is from the article that Mark found. Some of the people object to the fact that, for example, the tropes that have come out of this movie that are maintained, which are the bad stereotypes, that people still hang on to, and now they've internalized them. Whereas if you really, if you're paying attention to this movie, everybody is helpful except for those two guys, those two specific, the mountain man and the toothless man are the only problem people they run into. Everybody else is honest, does them fairly, treats them with at least modicum of respect. I mean, when he says, "I love the way you wear that hat," while he's filling the gas tanks, Bobby does. The man looks at him, takes his hat off, looks at it, puts it back on, says, "You don't know nothing." If I had been that guy, I'd have said, "Fuck you, you fat city boy." My answer would have been a lot stronger. So they were restrained, and I agree with you that the people were actually, if you pay attention through the movie, people like this father son are just being helpful.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Whereas
these people are very helpful.
right,
Yes.
Now,
and the
this is
people they
this is
ran
not the
into
same
initially.
kid, the banjo kid, though. That was my
No, I
No,
think
No,
a
it's
different
not.
kid.
No,
different
This
kid.
is
Oh, no.
actually a picture of Nick's childhood.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Look
but I
at that
mean,
old radio
but
there.
it's what you're right, Nick. There'd be a lot more of the city guys would be the heroes, and the country people would be the villains. And all I'm trying to point out is I think that Hollywood would do that much more today, in part because of this movie. That's I think part of this movie's legacy, especially in Hollywood. It basically was a story about people coming from different backgrounds and how they differ. And Hollywood and, people not from the South took it as, well, we're the good guys and they're the bad guys. And it's not that way. It really isn't. That's not the way this story is told. So, but it is a fantastic, it has a huge impact, has had a huge impact on a lot of movies, not just for the city versus country or backwoods people dynamic, but horror films, which we're going to get to. I'm waiting for it. I hope you have the clip.
Oh, I don't have the horror clip for that one. I know, obviously, the only one I had. Oh, did you post in the private? No, you didn't.
I'll put it in the private.
Put it in the private.
Put it in our private. Had enough of that tonight. God.
Not Gary though. Gary can always use more.
I'm surprised they didn't pop in just for 1 minute with this movie going on. Yeah.
See, they're all being very nice here. So it's,
Well,
Yeah,
you could
yeah.
tell. You could tell right from the scene, like even though they made it back, still a sliver of them is still there in mentally because of how scary that experience was for them. Like, even though they're relieved and they're cleaned up and everything, they're going to be on land, interacting with humans again. Mentally, they are still, and it goes all the way to the very end of the movie. A part of them is mentally still there, all the way up until Ed's dream, which obviously we'll touch on in a moment. But yeah, it shows you, like, yeah, it's one of those experiences. It was a life-changing experience for them. And it was one for Lewis that they also didn't expect as well. Because, well, when they go visit Lewis to change the story, as the story gets very suspicious to the local authorities, they're like, oh, crap, we got to go see Lewis. And they go see Lewis, and, they're about to get him to change the story, and he says he doesn't remember anything. Dude,
Yeah.
holy crap. That's a simple but a smart way of having that be an out. That's actually an out that I can buy. I can actually buy that out. Because when the experiences like that are that intense and the stress, especially with that type of injury, yeah, I can
They
definitely
believe it.
that.
Yeah, they believe that.
I
yeah.
believe that.
They
Yeah, and
would.
I'm sure even if you're a Melko, I would buy that too, especially when you saw his leg.
I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
but Ned Beatty's character Bobby is the weak link, and he's the one the cops are pressing.
Oh yes, and you could see why Ed is. I'm getting the names mixed up. Ed is so mad at him because he really thinks if anyone's gonna root us out, it is him. Because to him, that's like the most weaselest of the bunch. In even though he should have been the one that's the most he should have been the one that's the most stick to the story of the bunch, because he is the one who was literally effed in the A. And yet he was the one who was the first to just be like, blurt it out.
Would it make sense to you if Bobby feels like he's back in civilization, therefore he's back where he's, he can be in control? He's back where he belongs, which is why he thinks he can sit there and spin a yarn to the police, but he keeps digging the hole, or, he keeps digging his hole deeper. He thinks he's in control, but he's not.
Sorry, I heard that wrong.
The police are probing him hard. That's true.
They're probing him. They are definitely probing, looking for a soft spot.
Oh, great! Now even the serious stuff is not turning into a big old gay joke, because of course it is.
Well, we gotta hold Gary's end up.
Oh, bum, bum.
That sounds wrong too. Gary's end up, hold it up. Yeah.
I do
Okay.
think it's interesting that they didn't just finish it when they got back to civilization. They had this whole after bit. Of it,
The
them
studio
having to
wanted to cut
dress
it.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, the studio wanted to cut it the minute they came off the river,
Yeah.
and the
'Cause it's a very
author,
different movie now. Yeah.
yes, and the author, who by the way is right there on screen,
Yeah.
James Dickey played Sheriff Bullard. That's
Dickey
the
James.
he's the author of the book,
That's
Mhm.
awesome.
and he wanted these final scenes in it, and I'm glad they did because I think these are some of the best scenes of the movie because. You really okay. We already don't know whether they shot the right guy. We all don't know whether Drew got shot, and now we don't know because it's a murder investigation. Is somebody come knock on their door 20 years from now?
Yeah. Because
So
a
the whole
turbulent
movie is
river,
left in.
you may have
Go ahead.
weighed these guys down, but in a turbulent river, anything could happen. That
Right.
may not last. So
Yeah, it's a question of how quickly the reservoir fills up versus whether
Yeah.
that river starts washing evidence
yes,
downstream.
that's true. Yeah. Yeah.
And it adds to the horror of the film too. It's the horror of them
churches.
worried about getting Church of Christ.
They're moving the
getting rid of
church.
those- Yeah. So, but they're
Brian?
worried about getting but that's the horror too. Like they're worried about God, like you said, when's this going to happen? It's like that it could come up and bite us again. Bite us in the ass. And I mean, at first they're worrying about in the beginning of the movie they're worrying about physical harm and danger, like something like this.
You ever had your balls cut off, you fucking ape?
Psychological terror that they're.
No, I haven't, as you can see. Because if I had, that would be a meaningless threat.
Exactly.
Oi. No, Brian Bart, to answer your question, I'm interpreting this two ways, so I'm just gonna answer it both ways. You said in terms of films like Deliverance. Now, if you're talking about like the intensity of like the going on water and going on this adventure, life on the edge, I'm sure this movie seemed like it had to have been an absolute pain in the ass. So I'm sure thinking about what movies you have to do after this movie, I'm sure a lot more was considered into play as far as that. Now, in terms of horror story, like whether it's this type or something else, I don't know. I mean,
I think to answer that, we'd have
maybe
to know.
this movie had to be, it was such a stunning thing because of how groundbreaking it was.
I think we'd have to know what he was offered and what he took or didn't take. Well, we know what he took, but what didn't he take? Was he even offered any gritty thrillers like this? We don't know.
Yeah,
We don't
maybe
know.
maybe, and if he was, maybe was it? I do know personally, Burt Reynolds is not. He thought that the scene with the thing, that scene, he thought it was too far. So I'm like, man, he thought that was too far. 1972, boy, I got a bridge in Baltimore called Death Wish 2 to sell you, and oh boy, that's a far nastier bridge in Death Wish 2.
Oh, that was terrific. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like
I
that.
couldn't believe that watching that uncut version. I was like,
Not
what the hell
not
am I
to make
watching?
not to make downplay what happens here, because obviously this movie is horrific, but in Death Wish 2, it almost felt like that had everything about that scene was just like
They showed a lot more. They didn't leave anything to your imagination.
I mean, I unfortunately I missed last week because I was in Vegas. You did White Lightning as well, one of my favorite.
Oh, we had a
movies.
great time.
So
doing
White Lightning, Gator, stuff like that. It wasn't full on Smokey and the Bandit. These were still pretty gritty movies, with a
Well,
lot of
like
action.
as I said last week, that opening scene in White Lightning, when his brother and another college protester are being rowed out onto a lake, both of them tied by the hands to a cinder block, and Ned Beatty, the sheriff, turns around, blows a hole in the canoe with a shotgun, and they drown.
Mm-hmm.
That's as I said, that set the tone for the movie.
Yeah.
Burt Reynolds can make it look as easy as he likes to evade the cops with his souped up moonshine runner's car. But the fact of the matter is that he's dealing with a sheriff who looks like a sack of jello, but he's a guy who just went out and killed 2 young men because he didn't like them making too much noise at a party in his town after doing a sit-in. And he doesn't want those dirty hippies in his town. So he sent a message.
It's hard to fault the guy.
Well,
Just
but I'm just saying that until the final car chase scene, which is, yes, a little bit Smokey and the Bandit-esque in terms of Burt Reynolds is having too much fun evading the cops. But until then, White Lightning is pretty close to the level of intensity, but not quite this. And I guess there aren't. Well, first of all, I can't think of too many movies that are at this level of intensity made even in the 70s that Reynolds could have had a shot at. I'm not sure there are many. This is Reynolds did say later on in life this was the best movie he ever appeared in.
And if he wasn't offered anything comparable, then he's going to take what he's on offer. Plus, the chance to be a superstar in the mid 70s, he was a huge star because he did that lighter stuff. And used his charm.
Smokey,
So.
this made
It's
him a
hard
movie
to turn
star.
that down.
This made him a movie star. Smokey and the Bandit made him a superstar.
Superstar, yeah. It's hard to turn that kind of fame and fortune down, you know.
It is.
So raising fingers, I'm not surprised at this at all. I've noticed in all of 2024 so far. I don't want to dwell on this, but my channel, and I'm sure it's not happening to me, I've seen a purging of more subs than I've ever seen in the last several years. And it is absolutely crazy. And I'm not saying this for sympathy points, just being factual here. It has gone nuts how that has happened. So you probably were one of the unfortunate ones, unfortunately. But just so you know, it's happening. It might happen to other channels too. So yeah, YouTube has been knocking out subs like crazy these last few months. But it is what it is. It's a big deal. But that's
Thank you for subbing.
Yeah, thank you for subbing, by the way. But all right, as the credits are going, I do want to touch on that last scene because it brought back to what I was mentioning.
It's another influential scene. Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. And I was wondering, was Batman 1989? Did it get its scene from that? Remember when Joker fell down the Acme water, Jack Nicholson? And remember when they showed his hand in that one scene? Do you remember that scene, Marker Tom? Remember, because after Jack Nicholson fell in that stuff, and he stuck his hand out to show he lived.
Yeah,
I thought about that. I was like, was that a nod to Deliverance? That this was many years after Deliverance, and that would make sense. And also,
well, of course, you see things too. You know, when you're as it's like a musician, or they say, "Oh, I guess did I miss the hand coming up out of the water? I guess I did miss that. Oops." But maybe
you saw a little bit of it.
Saw a little bit of it. Well, it's covered up with the thing, but you take all that stuff in. So I knew about this banjo scene or this music as a kid. I mean, even though I was too young, to see it in the movie theater. I was 4 when it came out, but you just knew it entered the lexicon. I mean, it was just so you have all these old influences, and Star Wars is based on Japanese influences plus British movies. So
I think Friday the 13th, famously, with the body coming out the water, is probably based on that.
Carrie is been said it was based on that when her hand comes out of the grave.
Scared me shitless that scene.
Yeah, that was a direct reference to that final dream scene in this movie. So it influenced, like I said, it influenced a lot of horror for years to come, which is great. I mean, it's part of the reason it's a fantastic movie. It's been homages have been paid to it and all of that, but boy, there's one legacy of this movie I don't appreciate. I've talked about it, so I won't belabor the point.
We said or say, but I like how the last scene with Ed, aka
John Voight.
John Voight. When I mentioned earlier, like they may be home, but mentally a part of them is still there because it's the thing he dreams about. He wakes up and he sees the hand, and also he's like, "Oh crud, I'm in bed, with his wife back home." But it shows, oh boy, that's a That's a deep way of ending this.
Oh, it is. In terms of I mean, Sanders quite rightly said Southern Comfort, which is one of my favorite films. We did a great show on that once. Is almost a direct take on the whole movie. Other than it's set in the bayou, and there's no grape scene, but the rest is pretty much pretty similar, in many, many ways. It's very similar. Yeah.
Oh, Mars Monkey Max says Corn Pop was in this movie. I forgot that Corn Pop was in this.
Didn't know he could play the banjo. Yeah.
He played the
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
They should make a
Quit
Corn
asking
Pop
me about
film.
the laptop. I don't want to talk about it. I want to talk about America and how we're going to renew the resources of revenue to the Ukraine, where I don't know the name, but I've seen the show and it's where you go. I like boobs. I like ice cream. Don't you? That's America.
You like turtles, Mr. President?
I like turtles.
What? Who's that kid? Can I sniff his hair?
I've heard that's how he knows whose children are whose. I don't know.
Oh, good.
We'll get us.
That was great. We got the president. That was great to have the president visit us this late. It must be way past his bedtime. So I appreciate him staying up that late.
Maybe he was wandering around in the White House. Who knows?
So late past his bedtime, he's already getting up in the morning.
Yes.
Well, and earlier I said, talked about the whole rejected song. That was kind of a joke.
Yes.
Obviously. But I actually did try to do a version of that song first that wouldn't go through. Like, it would not let me make it. It wouldn't. I tried altering it all the way I could. So I did record it as myself. So if you guys are interested, I'll play the other version for you right now. It's not too long either.
I went down the river on a canoe.
Oh, that's the wrong one. Sorry. That's the one I played already. Now let me see if I can actually find the one that I was just talking about here. Here we go. Sorry about that.
Yeah, well, we went down to the drink where we saw some city think. So we took him to the woods and we did him good, that little piggy piggy. Well, boy, you got a pretty mouth, so why don't you show me what it's all about? That lily white bum so fine, gonna make him on the show one hell of a time. Well, I did a bad thing. I couldn't help it, that piggy boy was sweet. Oh, I couldn't help it, even though my pecker smells like shit. Giving it to city boys can't be beat. No, sweet meat. Well, boy, you got a pretty mouth, so I'll show me what it's all about. White lily ass so fine, I'm gonna show it one hell of a time. You're gonna make that lily ass mine. Yeehaw!
I don't know why that was too bad for the app, but it just wouldn't let me.
We'll let you do it. Yeah.
Actually, what's nice is, Tom, is that you sang that in your normal accent. You didn't have to put it on.
No, it's true. It's so Wisconsin's the north of the south.
North of the south. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeehaw.
All right, let's read some scores, shall we, dudes?
For sure.
Let's see
this
here.
movie here is considered porn. So,
are we gonna rate it by banjos or squeals?
So yeah, right. Soul Assassin, 10 out of 10 banjos. Brian Barth, 10 out of 10 toxicity. Juggalo Deathcock says 10 for brutality. Probably only a 7 by modern day toxic standards, seeing how people are such assholes to hill people. Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of that here. But yes, chat. Oh, here we go. TZ here says toxic 10. And he gave an oinker a 10. There you go. So go ahead. Folks, sound off the rest on your comments as those sound off. I will acknowledge these really quickly. Mike Beatsick, I do know this movie started off higher, but I think it was brought down to eventually at 2 million. I think
Yes.
from what I read, around 2 million. And then Matthew Marzullo, how's it going, sir? Says, hey, Nick, want suggestions for a John Voight toxic male performance Runaway Train? Ooh, I haven't seen that in a while, but yes, that is a consideration. Good choice. Anyways, and then Darth Viewer, toxic is a 10 for squealing like a pig. And as more scores come on up, we'll let the dudes do their scores as well. Sander Hamerslag, 10 piggies. we'll start off with Justin the Red Shirt. Tell us about your toxic score.
My toxic scores come in from the character Bobby, played by Ned Beatty, who is the biggest asshole in the county when this movie starts. He is absolutely insufferable. That doesn't mean he deserves what happened to him, but he looks down on these people that they encounter. The only thing this asshole's good at is selling insurance. Other than that, he's a complete walking clusterfuck. Obviously, the two locals that attack Bobby and Ed are toxic as hell. They earned that toxicity, unlike the other hill people. But the assumption that poor backcountry people must necessarily be contemptible, inbred, stupid, and dangerous, which is essentially Bobby's attitude when he arrives, is a legacy of this movie that I think is its most toxic feature. So I'm giving it 10 banjos for toxicity.
Oh, that's a lot of banjoing. Okay. I like the red shirt. I like it a lot. All right. And we'll let that 70s rock fan go.
Well, Richard, he may have been the biggest asshole in the county when he arrived. He was an even bigger asshole when he left. So,
ouch.
Who's got the rim shot?
Bottoms up.
So, it's pretty damn toxic by any standard. Today, of course, there's people probably couldn't even, maybe back in the days, people could even watch this. And there'd be all sorts of things that would offend the hell out of lots of people. But even just if they weren't offended, it's exceptionally uncomfortable in that scene. I think I'll give it 9.5 out of 10 for toxicity.
Oh,
there's no boobs, so that's the final 0.5.
It helps that
there's no women at all in this movie until the end, really. I mean,
I was gonna say that it's almost all men this entire movie, which is this from Mad under a Mad Mardigan score. This should be like a 9.5.
Yeah. He should be here for this one. God.
Yeah, Mad.
Yep.
Handy Randy, you're a disappointment not being here for this one. Mark.
All right. Well, yeah, this is this is a damn good movie. It's as I said in the beginning, it gets made fun of for just for that scene when it shouldn't. It's a deep movie, and the city slickers are they're the toxic ones in the start of this movie, right?
Yeah.
As a gang, and of course the corporations coming in, or the state, taking their land and making a move, and of course it's a lot easier to do that to a bunch of poor folk. Versus, people that have a lot of money, using eminent domain or buying them out. So you got that aspect of the toxicity. So you got the government being toxic. You got these city slickers being toxic. And then, of course, you do get the toxic mountain men, or in some ways you could say that they're, fighting back. Doesn't excuse what they do, but just they see these outsiders. So I'm going with the 9 banjos or 9 squeals for this one. Yeah, it's awfully toxic all around. And if you haven't had a chance to see it, take the time to watch this and enjoy this movie. It's this horror thriller. I mean, it's on the edge of your seat. When watching this, and then at the end, it doesn't let up too, and you never know what was that scene real at the end. I mean, or was that just a nightmare? You assume it's a nightmare, but that could happen. So yeah, Burt Reynolds is great in this movie, although he's out of the last third. But Voight, Beatty, everyone, Hick, they're all great in this movie. So yeah, really good job, and underlooked some ways, I think. Yep. So go check it out.
I agree. I strongly agree. Tom.
Wow. It's hard to rate this film as toxic by today's standards and all, because then you're not being fair to it. And this movie has already been examined under so many microscopes. Like, I mean, I even remember hearing before the woke movement was a thing that this movie was already an allegory for gay lovers. Yeah. So like, and sadly, I mean, you listen to I mean, you could probably go out there and find the theory or whatever you want to call it, and it kind of holds up in some places. But it's like basically like John Voight's obsession with Burt Reynolds and how bad he wants to fuck him and be alone with him. So, I mean, and then there's the other side of it where people, you know, this movie's been maligned and as basically called toxic for how it treats certain people and certain types of sexual acts, let's say. But let's be real. If you're a straight man, that is not something you want happening to you. Even if you weren't straight, I would imagine you want anybody doing that to you, right? Like, so there, to me, it sounds like this outdated thought when it comes to that kind of thing too. So in a weird way, on a toxic level, this movie has been diffused in so many ways. It has been made fun of in so many ways. Outside of just the manliness of the movie to a point, which kind of gets diffused by the whole, you know, dolphin loving scene, basically. Like, I mean,
they get humbled. Really
exactly.
quickly.
So there is kind of a strange way of like, this is a very toxic yet humbling is not the word I'm looking for, but there's a type of word I'm looking for on the other end of it. Because as a man watching this movie, I mean, you can relate to like wanting to be out there with your friends, doing all the, you know, hunting and fishing and boating and all that kind of stuff and canoeing and all that stuff, you know. But then the other side of it is, and I mean, the whole thing could even be an allegory for when friends just get a little too drunk and something bad happens. You know what I mean? Like, you can look at it from so many different perspectives, and you know, that's how, you know, these different characters deal with it throughout the film. How basically, you know, Ronnie Cox does himself in, and you know, Ned Beatty basically deals with it by just pretending he doesn't remember anything, basically. You know what I mean? Like, and it could be traumatic enough that he has repressed some of the memories by that point. I think I can't remember if it was Mark or Redshirt who brought it up earlier, but yeah, like, you're at least alluded to that when the scene was happening. So, I mean, even in that, the movie's kind of a little advanced of the time, because even then, those kind of thoughts of like repression, traumatic experiences, PTSD, almost said STD because of Star Trek. You know, those things weren't necessarily talked about, at least, especially in the larger communities, or even really part of psychology or therapy and all that kind of stuff yet. I mean, when we talked about Rambo, I think on here, like I'd mentioned then, that even then, you know, they commonly just referred to it as shell shock still at that point. And I think Mark and you guys had said the same thing basically too. And, you know, because that PTSD wasn't even a word yet. So, I mean, this movie is kind of ahead of itself in that respect, and it's based on a book that I haven't read, so I can't speak to how well the adaptation is. But I mean, I got to imagine they kind of nailed it, considering the acclaim the film got for the most part. And I think it got nominated for Oscars. I think it won.
I think there was a best director. I think there was a best director.
I think it won a couple, but I'm trying to remember exactly. I don't know. You guys probably covered it before I got here. But yeah, so on a toxicity level, I have a hard. I know it sounds weird saying this, but I guess I can only give it a 5 because the last half cancels out the first half in a weird way. But then again, the ending is a little toxic too because of how everything goes down. But the way you got listening to you guys kind of go through, like, I had nothing to really add because you guys were really just kind of breaking down like how their mindset in this situation would be. And, you know, you put yourself in those positions and you're just like, fuck, would I do the same thing?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it is one of those movies where I think anybody can kind of watch it in that regard and go, yeah, this could be something that could happen to me sometime, and I'm not expecting something like this, because people, you know, get in these situations, they don't think about how dangerous they are.
No,
and that's
especially big city guys who had no idea what it's like to be out here. They were.
So I find this is a
good.
cautionary tale. Yeah, you could probably argue that there's some things in here that could be treated as toxic with how they treat some of the hillbilly people and, you know, the Ozark stuff and all that business. But, you know, at the same time, I think the movie was a bit ahead of its time. It got, okay, thank you, Bryant. Best picture, best director, and best film editing. I can see why. And even if some people still think it's slow moving, this is a movie that I have watched a dozen times or better.
Mm-hmm.
And if I see it on television, well, I don't have television anymore, but you know what I mean? If I would see it on television, it was always one of those movies, much like a lot of the other films we talk about on here, where if I catch it, no matter where it's at, I just got to sit down and finish watching it now. Because it's fucking Deliverance, right? Like it's a Godfather level film, in my opinion. Like, you can't take that away from it. But on the toxic side of things, like you said, 5, maybe 6, just to be fair with I mean, Burt Reynolds' character is pretty butch in this movie, but then, then again, it makes everybody else look like they want to fuck him. So,
So for me, I'm
or
gonna
him
go
to
with
fuck them, maybe. I don't know.
yeah, maybe they want to fuck each other. I'm gonna go with a 7.5 for toxicity. Obviously, their surrounding environment is filled with toxic killbillies who are definitely kind of hinting at them of what's to come in their area. Be wary type of situation. And then you have obviously the macho-ness of Burt Reynolds, but it gets replaced by Ed. Ed rose to the occasion, became the alpha, became the man who had to become the muscle in the last 30, 35 minutes of the movie. And I feel like that balanced out the Burt Reynolds because
That's
it's
true.
Burt Reynolds' month. I feel like him stepping up into what would be normally Burt Reynolds' part. I feel like he became the muscle at that last, 35 minutes because he climbed up the mountain. He went for the kill. He became a man. He had to let go of being the guy who was afraid to just, 40 minutes of the movie saying, "Oh, I can't, take like an animal's life away." He once again is that super super family man guy who needs to be kind of harmless. And now he had to transform. He had to kind of radicalize himself. If you think of it, he radicalized himself, and he became a whole other man on the experience of it, and of the survival. I mean, God, the survival of it is absolutely barbaric, and especially for them to survive in nature, they had to really do some nutty things to survive. And of course, then there's that scene that is, whew, ooh, man, that's yeah, and still get the shivers, but I do I have heard Reynolds say that he wishes the scene was. I think I've heard that he wished the scene was taken. I don't agree. I think it was unsettling as a scene was. I feel like it was necessary to elevate how messed up these hillbilly guys were. I feel like you really need to show you how bad their scenario was. And as you guys mentioned, they were there to humiliate and to degrade them. And well, mission fulfilled. So yeah, excellent movie. It's definitely a little bit of horror, a little bit of thriller. And that banjo scene is still really creepy. In retrospect, at the time I was like trying to gather my thoughts on it. But now I'm like, okay, I can't help but see this as a scary scene.
I want to throw something in on that comment, Nick, if I may. When they finally get on the river and the same kid is up on that handmade bridge and he's just swinging his banjo back and forth, and Ronnie Cox's character tries to get him to play, and he won't. He just keeps swinging it back and forth. All I could think of was the pendulum on a grandfather clock. Like, that was, to me, the unnerving scene. Time, tick tock, your time is running out. I like the banjo scene. I think it's a great meeting of two cultures. It's the one thing they had in common. And you can see it differently, and that's fine. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying what really unnerved me was that kid's dead flat stare standing on that bridge watching him go past.
Oh, that added to it too. That definitely added to it. Because those just like, hey, you just saw him earlier. Don't you feel any thought after having a bit of a bonding moment? I trust me. I didn't get to that part, but yes, I definitely see that too. Trust me, it ran through my mind. It did. And yes, TZ, I don't know what's going on in Stream Elements. I mean, to be fair, YouTube's been messing up all day today. So, or sorry, not all day, the last few hours.
What's interesting about the scene?
Go ahead.
Sorry, Nick.
No, you're good.
What's interesting about the scenes with that kid is they're only creepy because of that kid. Like, the casting of that kid is absolutely outstanding.
Yes, I agree.
He doesn't have to do anything but just what he does. There's no ominous undertones from anything else. He's just this kid, and the way he looks is enough, which is incredible, really. It's an incredible piece of casting. Brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Okay, we're gonna acknowledge a few things. What's up here in of Alexandria? It's been a long time. Welcome back to the show. Mecha J, Toxic 11, Mike Beats Dicks, Uncomfortable 11, Toxic level 9.7, and TZ Burton. For $10, says Dick. Just want to say Toxic Tuesday is awesome. I really have fun reviewing these movies with you guys. Gay. That's literally what you add to it. Gay. Thank you, TC, for the $10. And yeah, it's because we have a good panel of dudes. We have a good exchange of conversation. We throw in a little bit of fun, a little bit of seriousness, and a little deep diving from talking about what we think the temperature of this movie is. So, and I feel like to me that once again, I thought it's fun to break it down to those little nitty bitty elements. I think it's fun, especially when you can, and then of course the color of green in this movie too, the emphasis on green. So that's why this is fun because we're having fun. And once again, earlier YouTube was down and it showed one person and it shows you.
I'm here. I'm watching.
We here, right? It was just Mark. We can have the same conversation, whether it's one actual human being watching, or at one point we had 1 or 2 points have up to 50 watching. We still have the same conversation because we enjoy talking to each other, but it's that much better when we have you guys around. So, yeah. Anyways, guys, that was Deliverance. Now we move on to part.
Oh, Tom, is there a 4K version of this? There's got to be, right? Or
Sadly, not yet.
Oh no,
no, but I think an anniversary recently. Is it this year the anniversary, or did we?
No, it's
When did this come out?
1972.
Yeah, so we got
this
a
was
couple
52.
of years before an anniversary. Again, it's hard to say with brothers anymore.
wow, no 4K, and I mean this is considered one of the top, all time great movies too. I mean that's strange, yeah.
All right.
You just want to see that scene in real close up.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah.
High fidelity on big screen.
Yeah,
he wants to see the
you
sweat
got me.
from he wants to see the sweat from the ring.
That's right, yeah. You better have a Dolby Atmos mix as well so you can hear that squealing and
Hail.
Dobbly.
What's up, Tetrarch? Thanks for being here. Didn't know
Yeah.
you were lurking. Thank you. All right. Well, once this is Deliverance, we'll be back next week for Smokey and the Bandit.
Woo-hoo.
So
Sweet
it's
movie,
about, yeah. So
That's a fun one. Much lighter.
there will be another Burt Reynolds month down the line because there's still so many that we have not done. But this will conclude our Burt Reynolds month with 4 episodes of Burt Reynolds. So Smokey and the Bandit next week. And I just want to say thanks to those who subbed, aka resubbed. I know YouTube's been a big pain lately, so thank you for subbing, resubbing. I'm sorry YouTube has been a lot more difficult than usual about this crap. It is what it is. And for those who were here when there was one person, thank you for sticking around because I know how that stuff looks and it can be irritating, but it sounds like you all know how YouTube goes, so you all know how the rodeo goes. It shows you all that it wasn't your first rodeo because you know how the stuff works. Thank you to all the super chats and direct donations as well. Appreciate that. Yeah. Come on my channel, Shot Talk. Friday night we'll be having Flip City Magazine on. I cannot wait to have them on. They are fun people over there, and it's been a fun conversation to talk with some funny people who are making today's Mad Magazine and one that's ideology free. And if I'm lucky, I'll try to get to a video this week. And of course, meet on Thursday and Thursday Night Throwdown as well. I'm going to let these gentlemen plug their plugs on the way out. Redshirt doesn't have a plug, but next week we'll have a plug for him to plug. So just letting you know, he told me personally he doesn't have a plug. So less
He's
plugs.
all plugged up.
He's all plugged up. So we got 3 men who got plugs, though. And we're going to start off with one man's plug. Oh, sorry. Wrong
Not that
man.
man. So you picked the one man.
All right. Well, thank you. Yeah. well played. But yeah, great hanging out with you guys as per usual. And thanks to the chat. You guys are always a lot of fun. And yeah, I've got my Sunday night show, Sunday Night Geekery, which we have a lot of fun. We'll be talking Fallout from Fallout. We talked a little bit about last week without spoilers, but I finally finished watching it, and whatever's in entertainment for the week, and also we always do a little bit of food, and right now I'm actually got a super exciting stream you can head on over to. I'm actually not there live. This is at work, but I'm printing Slimer from Ghostbusters. So I've been printing some of the figures and making some of the symbols. So this I'll put the link in, but the stream is still going if you want to leave it open on one of your tabs and check into it once in a while. But this is actually my computer controlling. I'm away from the stream, so hopefully the stream won't get crossed and we'll keep going. But I do a lot of 3D printing and stuff like that. So, and also Thursday night I'm on with Clubhouse with Cal Briggs and Clobbering Times, and I do watch parties for Blake 7, and we're doing Kolchak the Night Stalker now. So I usually do those the night before we do some watch parties. So appreciate everyone being here, and check out my channel. I finally got monetized too, which is great.
Congratulations!
Thank you. Thank you.
So what are you going to do with that $20 a month?
I got 3 cents from one of my videos the other day, but I just felt so damn good about it. And seriously though, but I thank you to everyone who, you're right. But I mean, there was something justified. At least I'm getting some of that money from the YouTube views. But yeah, it's nice to get through those hurdles, and appreciate everyone who's watched and subbed. And when you start, you're like, am I ever gonna hit that? You never think you're gonna get there, but much appreciated, and glad to have reached that. And I'm going to earn maybe 6 cents next week off of that. But yeah, we're doing this for fun anyway. But it is nice to get a little bit of that YouTube money. So yeah, let me put this link in, and feel free to check it out or hang out in the chat a little bit. But thanks everyone.
No, thank you for being here, Mark. Thank you for your excellent services as always with the slideshow, the clips and strips. It's just there's no
sense in going off half cocked.
Oh my God, the cock!
We had to play that tonight.
Hell yeah! All right, thank you, Mark. You're the fucking man, guys. Go. You can watch Mark waffle up his Slimer because it looks like a waffle.
Yeah, don't eat it.
But don't eat it. That 70s rock fan.
Well, it's great to be back.
I heard you have bull mouth with Brahma.
This is the bourbon and boarding day out at the Vegas Golden Knights Colorado Avalanche game on Sunday. We had a lot of fun. Well, I had a lot of fun. Brahma was a little less pleased at his team throwing away a 3-0 lead in the last period.
I hope you wrote that off as a business expense too.
I bloody hope so. I'm going to try. So that was fun. So we'll be on Bourbon and Boarding on Saturday. Obviously, playoffs are here. We'll be previewing that. We'll be talking about our little trip that we had and the great day we had at this great afternoon at the T-Mobile. I think my hearing is permanently damaged from the volume of that arena. Like, not the fans, I mean the actual volume. I think they've got the world's biggest subwoofer buried under the arena. So, anyway, so that's Saturday night Bourbon and Boarding. I'll be sharing some more clips from that, talking about which team from the West is going to win the Stanley Cup, because it will be a team from the West, Mark.
They'll be the Rangers. It's got to be.
But they're not in the West, so how could they win?
It's been almost 30 years since the Rangers won. That's when I got married, and it seems like just yesterday that they won the cup.
Then it'll be almost 31 years after this year. So,
oh God.
So yeah, Saturday night Bourbon and Boarding with Brahma, and next Monday on my channel. I had a week off. I really got to start doing some stuff. Next Monday I'll have a cult comedy crew. We're going to do Father Ted, which is fantastic British-Irish sitcom, which if you've never seen, you're missing one of the greatest experiences of your life, Father. Fabulous show. So Father Ted next Monday, and I must somehow tomorrow get some time to make a video on episodes 8 and 9 of Shogun, which I watched tonight. Shogun.
How's that still holding up?
These are 2 episodes had a little of a lull. These 2 episodes way better. So I would say on the whole, it's back
worth watching though. Yeah.
Back up to quality. Yeah. There's a couple. I have a couple of quibbles, but it's nice to have a couple of quibbles. Not this whole thing's a pile of shit. So
yeah. Oh yeah. No.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. So hopefully that'll be done tomorrow, and the rest will be things like Midnight Change After Dark, the shit list, Thursday Night Throwdown, etc., etc. So thanks, Nick, for
No, my pleasure, man.
doing
Thanks,
it as
thanks
usual.
for
And
being
thanks
here.
to the chat. Thank you, chat.
Yes, our chat is ever so excellently exquisite like that, right? They're just that great. It
They
just
are the greatest chat on YouTube.
Hugest chat. Huge.
Except when they're on my shows in the chat. Then they're the greatest chat.
All right. Well, no, hey, Max, we love you. Just saying. Like we like you, Anonymous Gamer. Like we like you, me and my monkey, or an Ultras. All of you guys, members, non-members. We'll do another member stream soon. Also, we did one last week, but since I'm trying to make up for March, we're gonna do another one this month. Probably do actually this Thursday. This time we're gonna do a private one. So
Ooh.
yeah.
You're my private member for
All right.
dancing. Member.
Oh, I remember Tom's head.
Oh, Tom's gonna go for that one.
Ooh,
You're my
feel the shine.
private member.
So yes, we all know Tom is part of Midnight's Edge After Dark. I know he's at the morning show, but Tom, is there any exceptional guest for tomorrow morning you want to promote, or you got a
we
radio
are going to
show?
have Chris. We have Chris from Bleeding Fool tomorrow.
Oh, Chris Crowley, cool.
Wow.
Otherwise, I might do a mead radio, but it's a little late.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm eventually gonna start. I've been dropping music that I've been working on. Like the
Awesome.
stuff I played earlier. So you can check out a couple of songs that are already up, and there'll be more coming. So encourage me, and I'll make more. I'm sure I've got a bunch already, but it's just gonna take time to get them up with all the proper lyrics and stuff. So some of these other ones I got are not in the best of shape. So the best ones I put up so far, as the lyrics somewhat following along. Now I'm gonna have to do them on my own. But yeah. Anyway, that's neither here nor there, and that's a me problem. So, yes, but thanks for having me as always. I love hanging out with you guys and talking about movies we love and movies about men loving men.
You're in great company with a bunch of
Bottoms
men.
You guys aren't going to start sucking each other's dicks, are you?
Maybe.
All right, Tom. Well, it's been a pleasure-filled time to have you. And to all the chat, seriously, thank you all for being here. Have a great night. Thank you for supporting Toxic Tuesday. We'll see you next week for Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeehaw!
It's
All
gonna
right.
be fucking huge.
Son of a bitch.
Fucking.
Son of a bitch.
All right, folks.
Boy, I said boy.
Good night.